Not necessary.
There shall be no knifing one another. Everybody knows who's in charge.
Yes.
You. Of course. Of course. Of course.
And welcome back to A Stark Contrast, where we discuss the differences and similarities from Marvel Comics to their MCU counterparts. And we are your hosts, Geoffrey.
And I.
Welcome back, everybody.
What's up?
For
Here
episode 21.
21. Getting back in form after the new year.
Yeah.
I was a little rusty.
We're finding some sense of routine and doing the same thing and getting back into how we were before the holiday break.
Right, exactly. That break just so good, but also I was like, how do I podcast again?
The holidays always mess me up with literally anything.
Oh gosh, exactly. Jeez. And even now it feels like I haven't seen you in forever, even though it's only been 2 weeks.
It's every time. Yeah. Only been 2 weeks. Yeah.
Ugh, crazy town banana pants. So, so thanks to everybody who tuned in to our first episode of the new year, number 20, with Doctor Strange. I hope you enjoyed that one. It was a long one. This one is also going to be a long one, but I'm not going to jump there quite yet. And I wanted to share some fun Patreon news. Just a gigantic thank you to Katie, one of our backers, who just upgraded her support to the highest tier. So welcome to the We Are Groot salute.
Yes, welcome,
Katie. Woohoo! Is there anything else you want to cover before we get right into it? Because that's pretty much it. This is going to be an action-packed one.
I mean, okay. Well, I mean, I just talked about this off mic, but it feels actually very relieving that the embargo of Spider-Man No Way Home stuff is just over and they can talk about anything.
The official still of all three of them that I was dying for.
I was going to bring that up actually. Yes. So good. Because I was like, how far after a movie is released does the marketing go and the press for it? Yeah. So I was like, so they just released that new poster, which is probably one of the best ones that they've released.
It's the best poster. I know. I'm like, how do I get something with that? And it's from Japan, which is a thing. And I collect those chirashi. They're called mini posters in Japan. Okay. The flyers, basically. Yeah. Like you see the Guardians ones I have in the hallway. Yeah. And I collect all of those. And so if they get one of those in Japan, I'm adding that. I'm going to frame that bad boy. That's a good
So they have
poster.
that. They released official stills of all three of them together. So it's like, we know like cat's out the bag, literally. Like, so it's like, there's no hiding that. Okay, all three Spider-Men are in this movie.
Exactly.
And I feel confident and weird saying that out loud.
I know. Well, it's like we said in the last episode, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, portrayed by Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and
Tobey Maguire. I had to think about who you said at first. I was like, okay.
Toby the GOAT, he go last.
I know. And then,
I'm an Andrew girl, but I will say Toby is still the GOAT.
Oh yeah. Then in the last few weeks too, I've been like getting recommended on YouTube like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 clips or both those movies. And then the more I've watched these clips of Andrew as Spider-Man, I'm like,
yeah, dude, I'm telling you.
He's really good as Peter Parker Spider-Man.
But like I said, we're going down Peter Parker part 2 here, which is inevitable, by the way. Mm-hmm. But he, again, I love Toby as Peter Parker and I love Tom as Spider-Man. But to me,
that
Andrew
totally
Garfield,
makes sense, and I see it.
Dang.
And then, I also read I don't know what interview it was because Andrew's on all these. He's on all these press doing junkets or whatever.
TikTok boom, because TikTok boom. He's gonna win or be nominated for an Oscar, no doubt. I just watched it 2 days ago.
Yeah,
I was like,
I've seen part of it, and he It's kind of like he's in it.
That kid can act.
Yeah. And then I remember him saying that like, oh, I think an interviewer asked him like, oh, like, what do you think about like all the fans on, the social media, like advocating for like ASM3?
Yeah.
And he was like, where were you guys in 2014?
Exactly what I'm saying. I saw a reel today that was like, it was just a really somber, like, like Andrew Garfield wonders where his fans were in 2014. Literally says that, and it's just Peter Parker staring at his suit in the closet.
Yeah.
And I was like, actually, yeah, no, that's a good point, because I remember I was standing so hard, and I felt like,
and I get it.
Like, because it's Spider-Man, it's easy. Sure, people were like, yeah, it was all right, but it was still early in the Tobey was better era, so he had that going for him too.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like, oh, now you want Amazing Spider-Man 3?
Yeah. Like,
did you even watch Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Yeah. Like his portrayal in the MCU kind of really,
so
brought back, not only kind of helped his arc, but the fact that his arc helped out Tom's arc is the best. I think I read a couple articles on that. Like when they asked Tobey and Andrew to sign on, it was more like using their experience as Peter Parker Spider-Man to help Tom's arc.
It's perfect.
But also like callbacks to their films.
Yeah, exactly.
Which worked perfectly. And I thought it was really well done.
And as much as I would like an ASM3, I don't need an ASM3. Because that No Way Home storyline was just so fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
I mean, they were on screen for a good amount of time. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah.
Right.
So hopefully, I hope the last piece of promotional material they do is a poster
of all three.
With all three of them.
Can you imagine?
All three suits.
I need it.
It's just like,
I need it.
I mean, you got to give the people what they want, Exactly. I'm all for studios, doing whatever they got to do, but I'm like, this one you got to do, especially after the embargo list.
I swear, everywhere they posted the new poster of the broken glass.
Yeah.
I swear I commented on every post and I was like, Peter 2 and Peter 3 when? Like everywhere I could, because I was like, I would love to see that version.
Like, the people like want it. You don't even got to show their face. Because I know that, because that's like a whole legal thing also too, like to use their face.
Yeah.
But just have all three suits.
Do it.
On top of the Statue of Liberty or something. I don't know.
Let's go.
Yeah. So I hope that is the last piece and bit of promotional material they do for that, because then it comes out on digital.
Exactly. Yeah. And I saw today, gosh, I got a notification. I saw it on Marvel, and they released Amoeba. Amoeba's got a picture disc of the vinyl of the soundtrack for No Way Home. And that doesn't even come out till July.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, ooh, but what's the timing? But anyway, that's some other
That
talk.
is a long time. But yeah.
All right. So that said, we will spare you the other 5 hours that we could talk about Peter Parker.
100%.
And wait for part 2 on that character. If you haven't heard our first part, it's number 2, episode 2. So go back and listen to all things Spidey. But for today, let's get into it. As always, we're not experts. We don't claim to be. We're just nerds nerding out. So if you got comments, questions, suggestions, please hit us up. Love to hear from you. Oh, and speaking of, I have a corrections corner on myself.
Oh no!
I can't help it. I have to amend. So the last episode, again, episode 20, Doctor Strange. I mentioned Christine Palmer being like an OG character. She was an originally written character for the MCU. That is incorrect.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. She is part of the I think we briefly talked about them in other episodes, but the Night Nurses. So in Daredevil,
yeah.
Claire Temple is a night nurse, and then in Hawkeye, not the show, the comic.
Yes.
Clint was seeing Linda Carter, who was a night nurse, and so Christine Palmer is another night nurse.
Oh.
So there's all these nurse ladies that are weaved in and out of the universe, and so Christine Palmer is indeed a night nurse, and we love her.
We do. Can't wait to see. Yeah, Multiverse of Madness.
Doctor. So, one of our new things that we're doing is the calendar fact of the day. And which is funny because when we recorded Doctor Strange, the day after was the Doctor Strange one. And I was like, shoot. But today we got lucky. We got kind of lucky. And I'm going to read it later when we actually get to this character. But for today, January 25th, it's Malekith.
Wow.
Right? I was like, whoa. So we got that. So we're going to actually go to that later. But so if you hadn't looked at the episode title, today's fantastical character is none other than Thor, Odin's son.
Is that the mighty Thor, son of Odin?
Who's that?
I don't know.
Ella?
I don't know. Thor. I don't know.
I was going to ask you to do
Someone had that line though. Like,
your best
is that
Hemsworth?
Thor, son of Odin?
Is that Thor?
Oh, I think it was. I think it was Heimdall.
Oh, was it Heimdall?
Oh, it was. Oh, in the. I think I just did a horrible Idris Elba impression. I was higher than it needed to be for some reason.
Like 3 octaves.
In that mind control scene in Age of Ultron.
Oh,
where everyone's blind.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and then Heimdall's blind, and he's like, is that Thor, son of Odin? Oh, I may be blind, brother, but I see everything.
Jesus. I get, oh God, I don't know how you do that, man. Oh my gosh.
Can't you see? Yeah, I have a problem, guys.
So good. Jeez Louise. My favorite part about you doing it is that it's so left field for me. In so many ways. Like, not only are you just pulling it out of like thin air, but you're also quoting it verbatim. And it's like Age of Ultron? What the?
Yeah, I don't know. I have all, like I said, I think I've said this before, I have all this useless knowledge. But I guess it's getting put to use here.
It's the best. It's the best. Impersonations are always welcome. So Thor Odin's son. Do you have a Thor voice though?
Loki.
I know he does that a lot, right? So
Loki.
He does. Yeah, there you go.
It's I have to be like super like
you
hoarse with it.
Yeah.
Like, I need a line. What's a line that I can say? Loki, you really are the worst brother.
That is pretty good. Oh, dang. I like it. So Thor, created by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Larry Lieber. His first appearance. So this is going to sound quite reminiscent to the discussion we had about Loki.
Okay.
So, which in many ways actually, but the notable first appearance for Thor is Journey into the Mystery number 83, August 1962. And so I have the cover right here. Have it open for you. Whoops. Hello, iPad. There you go. And
oh yeah,
classic 1962 vibes.
Oh yeah, look at the colors on this thing. My God.
What kind of kills me are the bubbles, right? The bubbles are always they used to be like a big thing for each issue to kind of like, it was the hype man of the 60s, right? And so this thing is like introducing the mighty Thor, the most exciting superhero of all time. It's like
every time I see this kind of like style, I was like, that graphic of something spinning
it's
on
perfect.
screen.
It's exactly right, because like you think about it, right? Like of all time, 2 exclamation marks, and then you have the X-Men waiting in the wing to come out in the next year, and they're like, what? What about us? And so I wanted to add a new thing to our character studies in that I'll share how much an issue like this goes for.
Oh, yes.
And so I looked it up.
I think the viewers would,
right?
Listeners would love.
So the highest grade of this book on eBay right now, or at least at the time of my search, it was a 7.0, which is like mid-tier. If 10 is the highest.
10 is the highest, right? Yeah, that's right.
3 is like, 7's like, 3 down. That's all right.
Yeah.
Ranges from, do you want to give a shot?
The first issue,
first appearance of Thor.
First appearance of Thor.
At 7.0.
Okay.
So 7.0. I don't know what my comparison. So that Amazing Spider-Man I have, number 50.
Yeah.
That's a 6.5. It's a little rough.
Okay.
It might have some coloration.
First appearance of Thor, it was graded. It's a graded 7.
7.0, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to go too high.
And it's Thor. So it's like, you got to think like a collector, right? Like,
yeah, like especially how much Thor means a lot now.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to... Ooh. Damn, is that low?
That ooh.
Oh.
That ooh each and every time.
I will... Oh, okay. I will go with.
Do you want to gauge?
I'm gonna gauge. I'm gonna give $100 gauge.
Okay.
Like
so let me give you an example. First appearance of Winter Soldier, not Bucky Barnes.
Winter Soldier.
About $300.
Okay. I was gonna give the $400 to $500 range.
Oh, for Thor?
Damn. I'm not good with like I don't have that much. I don't have much experience with like.
Oh yeah, no.
6 to 7.
Buddy boy.
Wow.
You know that like the first Amazing Fantasy with Spider-Man's first appearance is like a cool 2.5 mil, right?
Oh crap.
Superman, 2 million?
My background in like grading stuff is Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So I got that going for me.
Don't get had like Logan bro who spent $3 million on bootleg, not even bootleg, G.I. Joe cards.
Okay, here we go.
Come on.
One more time. I guess. See now I want to guess a 7-figure number.
We haven't even got into pop quiz yet.
Now I want to get into a 7-figure number.
Nah.
But I'm not going to.
Nah.
I'm gonna go low 6 figs.
Go 5.
5 figs.
5 figs.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right.
7.0. Thor, first appearance. Journey of the Mystery, August 1962.
20 to 30K.
Close. Really close.
Okay.
So a 7.0 of this book in its physical form on eBay, if you were to try and get it, and that doesn't include auction. So auction, like they're higher grade.
Yeah.
Probably more pristine. They're obviously real, whereas eBay is kind of like, oh.
Sure.
If you wanted to buy that book, $30,000 to $60,000.
For a 7.0.
7.0. So it's like a half grade. Like it's like a C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me. That's literally me as a student.
As a student, as a comic book,
I wish I got paid 30 to 60K for being like an average student.
Crazy, right?
Man.
Nuts.
Do you know how many of those exist?
That I'm not sure. That's a great question though. But you know, I imagine the printing back then wasn't as like I feel like Silver Age back and kind of modern times like 2015 up.
Yes.
Might be the lesser of the print era because things started to go digital for us. So I feel like the digital age has kind of changed things. And I think, you know, back in the day, it was a little harder to mass produce. So, I don't know. You know, it's a great question.
I wonder whoever does own that issue knows how much
it's worth now. And it's kind of one of those things, you know, you have an uncle or a grandpa that used to collect. And
I've heard that, yeah.
It was in my basement and I sold it. And then
you want these stack of comic books? It's a bunch of just first issue and first appearances.
Exactly. That's how my nephew's going to handle my books when I get older. Like, here, have these 7.
I don't know what this is.
Daredevil. What is all this? Death of Elektra. Death of Green Goblin signed.
Never heard of it.
Who needs this? So yeah, that's kind of crazy. Do you remember your first exposure to this character? Speaking of Thor, I mean, was it Marvel? Was it more of a?
I'm trying to. My follow-up question after you brought him up in your first issue, I was like,
yeah.
Now, was Thor the comics by Stan Lee? Was it based off the Norse mythology of? It's
quite like Loki. They were just kind of dipping into the pool of these Nordic and, you know, Asgardian lore characters.
And then just making them like comic book
versions of them. And that's kind of why in this instance they do regard him as Thor Odinson rather than just Thor. And why it's Mighty Thor and Thor God of Thunder rather than just
something else.
Yeah.
They could have done something completely different, but they kept it pretty true to that Norse mythology part.
Exactly. And that's pretty awesome.
I'm pretty sure, Marvel was the first like kind of instance of Thor, Norse mythology.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, right.
And then it wasn't until I mentioned this off mic too, was the God of War games, the most recent ones, the PS4 ones, that they dip into Norse mythology. Kratos, who's a Greek, who was previously in Greek mythology, moved over to Norse mythology story. And that's when I kind of learned more about it. And it kind of like got just much more different perspective on Norse mythology and Norse mythology characters.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
And it's a huge undertaking too, I feel like, because it's like, oh, everybody kind of knows the basic outline of a character like this, but then you see one or you get fed one like a Marvel version and you're just like, dang, okay, and this is kind of all that people know. Like,
yes, 100%. Yeah, because that's all I knew. And then like you start to like look it up more. You're like, oh, based off, Norse mythology, Thor, Odin's son.
Exactly.
Odin, Loki, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're like, oh, this is crazy. Yeah, because then now you have these different like iterations of Thor.
And the different nuances of the character and such. And so... very interestingly enough, like Doctor Strange, this is a rare instance where I have many, many versions of this character in a trading card form.
Yeah.
Well, that is until we get to Gambit, but that's another story.
Oh yeah.
But of course, 2 of them are including that legendary set from San Diego Comic-Con with the Marvel first 10 years. There's also an Asgardians card, which we can read later, but we've got a few here. Even Hemsworth himself has one. I don't even remember where I got that from. Endgame. But I guess I'll read, let's see, this is the 1992 Marvel Masterpieces. And so here we go. After the disappearance of the original Thor, prince of legendary Asgard and protector of Earth, his father Odin granted the power of the thunder god to the mortal Eric Masterson so that he might carry on his son's sacred mission. Entrusted with the mighty Uru hammer and devastating strength, Masterson has become the new Thor, a role in which he often struggles as he tries to live up to the monumental achievements of his noble predecessor. But despite the awesomeness of his task, Masterson valiantly continues to uphold the defense of our world. So this is referring to Eric Masterson, who is a different version of Thor because, as we've kind of very, very briefly touched before, Donald Blake is like the name, right?
Yes.
Donald Blake.
Yes.
And so even in this issue, his origin issue, this is, I almost said starring, this focuses on Donald Blake. So the human that you see in this issue, it's all Donald Blake. And so there's this, it's kind of like a reincarnation thing. So when Thor perishes or something, his power is bestowed upon the next he who is worthy enough. And it's usually a Terran or a human of some sort, right? So while the cards talk about Eric Masterson, we're going to talk about Donald Blake today. But before we get too deep into that, back to his first appearance, aside this book, his original first appearance, quote unquote, was much like Loki, how he was in that Venus book. That was like a really offbeat, almost love science fiction comic.
Yeah.
From 1951. And so Thor specifically was in issues 12 and 13. So he actually arrived before Loki as far as the Golden Age is concerned. Because again, this issue is number 83, and then Loki comes in 2 issues after this. But in Venus, he comes in after. So that's kind of interesting. I couldn't find the issue digitally. It wasn't on the Marvel app, and it's so I was like, what are you trying to hide? So unfortunately, I don't have like what he looked like, but I'm sure it's very interesting considering Thor was the king of the nether regions in that book.
True.
But back to the basic standards of this character as far as the Marvel Universe is concerned. Thor was born to Odin Bor's son and Earth goddess Gaia. He spent his youth attempting to prove himself worthy of Mjolnir, which results in his, the fantastic ego we were just talking about. I had Thor on just before Geoffrey got here, and he's just he's a lot in that first movie.
What a development from him.
Yeah, honestly. And so while he's attempting to be worthy, he finds himself in many battles and all these lovely journeys, and a lot of it resorts to him with wiped memories. So again, it's back to the Donald Blake and the Eric Masterson thing where he almost gets reset, if you will. And he has to start from square one, which is very Sisyphean of him. So upon breaking a treaty between Asgard and the Frost Giants, Odin banished him to Earth as a lesson in humility in the form of Donald Blake. So that's how he comes upon becoming this person. And it's very interesting because like if you look at this issue, Donald Blake, it starts with like a very serene, like 1962 style. He's got his hat on, he's got a suit, he has a cane, and he's a doctor. And he happens to be in Norway, vacationing in Norway.
Of course.
Looking at this beautiful mountain. And then a trio of stone creatures come down from a UFO ship. And believe it or not, my dear friend, these guys.
Oh my gosh.
They're called Cronins.
Okay.
Does that sound familiar to you?
Very. Oh gosh, it's like digging. It's tingling a deep part of my brain. Cronins.
You're Peter Tingle.
The way
Cronins.
they look or the name.
The name.
Oh,
both.
Oh, isn't that hello? What is the blue man's name?
Korg?
Korg.
It's Korg. So it's Korg. And actually, quite literally, I believe that it was confirmed that one of these is Korg.
Oh,
so that's what he looks like. And for those of you at home
comics.
who can't see it, he's kind of like if...
It looks like that.
An Easter Island head had a baby with a thing.
Yeah. Well, what's that? Is that an Easter Island head? Okay.
Yeah. Those. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they come from Saturn, and then they invade Norway. This area of Norway, and like a good story goes, he runs off and he's like, I gotta hide, and he happens upon this cave, right?
Yeah.
And he's caught at a dead end, and then he nearly loses all hope, and he's cradling in a fetal position. And then he finds there's a secret chamber, and within the secret chamber there's this magical stick, and he's like, oh, magical stick, cool.
Okay.
So it's an ancient cane. I just like calling it magical stick.
Nice.
So as logic would appear, he picks up the cane, and then he starts hitting the exit, like what appears to be another exit, with the cane.
Okay.
Keeps hitting it. And then the cane then transforms into Mjolnir, and he becomes Thor.
Oh my God.
Thor, the mighty Thor. So I'm going to swipe ahead. See, so here he is. He's beating the rock.
That is
bizarre.
Hilarious.
So he hit a cane against a boulder, and then thunder appeared, and he transformed into Thor.
Wow, he just got buff in one panel. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi, my name is Cool, and
Cool. My name is Cool.
I'm a bunch of little rocks.
Rocks are cool.
I want to start a revolution, but I didn't print enough pamphlets.
And then, so of course, everyone should read this issue. It's just great. But dude, can you tell me what you see here that might stand out to you that is bizarre?
Well, first of all, it's spelled Thor wrong.
Right? I do not, somebody please explain to me why on the very last panel of this comic book, they spell Thor as in Thorr.
Like someone was like, Thor!
Yeah, so it's got 2 R's. I don't know who cleared that, but maybe they were just like, send it to print. It's cool.
What copywriter? Look this over.
Stan, what have you done, dear friend?
How many hands did this go through before it went to print?
And they were like, it's cool. Don't just leave it. It's cool. So with that, I have our first pop quiz.
Great. Another one for me to fail.
Somebody take a tally already. We need it.
My gosh.
All right. So we mentioned in our Hawkeye episode that DC's Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, predated Clint Barton by nearly 25 years.
Okay. That's right.
So that begs the question, who came first? DC's Thor, yes, there is one.
What?
Or Marvel's.
I didn't even know DC had a Thor.
That's what I'm saying. Isn't that crazy?
My gosh.
But it's like I just said. It's like, there may be a Norse mythology god known as Thor. There's a god of war, Thor. There are Thors all over the place. But you gotta say, like,
4 Thors and 7 years ago. Brother.
You're the worst. Oh, God. But yeah, there's a DC Thor.
God, see the fact that I didn't know there was a DC Thor makes me think Marvel's Thor came first.
Okay,
because even before the movie and stuff, I feel like Thor was known pretty well in the comics.
Yeah. All right. So we'll see how great DC's marketing is, because the answer is
I'm gonna leave. I'm ending the podcast episode right now.
Believe it or not, my dear friend, debuting in Comic Cavalcade number 17 in October of 1946.
46?
DC's Thor predates Marvel's Thor by 15 years? 16 years? Yeah.
Who came
but
first,
true.
DC or Marvel?
DC. We've had this discussion.
And they still can't make a proper universe.
Shots fired. We love the DCU. We love it. We love it a lot. I swear. I promise.
I do. I just wish they deserve better.
I agree. They deserve to eat as well as we do.
They need someone to just pioneer.
Please.
You know?
Stream Peacemaker. It's on HBO right now. It's pretty freaking funny.
Hilarious.
But yeah, unfortunate truth of the matter is that DC's Thor debuted first, but unless you're actually following, say, the Wonder Woman books, because I think he just came back a year or two ago. I don't know. But, he's very much in the universe, and, Chris Hemsworth kind of has the character by the balls. Speaking of Chris Hemsworth, let's pivot on to MCU world. So,
ooh, this is where I specialize.
This is where you excel. So Thor 2011, the character himself portrayed by Mr. Chris Hemsworth.
11 years ago? My goodness.
11 years ago. Right? That's why I get nervous. I get nervous when I see these, because I was like, dude, they've already been playing these characters for so long.
2030 is closer than 2011.
That's crazy.
I'm going to throw the fuck up.
So Thor 1 was directed by Kenneth Branagh, screenplay by Ashley Edward Miller, Zach Stentz, and Don Payne, story by J. Michael Straczynski and Mark Protosevich. I know I messed that up in the Loki episode too. I'm still going to go with it. And composed by Patrick Doyle. So I found a neat little nugget of history with Thor 1.
Okay.
And it comes from Wikipedia. And I think I shortened it, so forgive me if it doesn't make sense. But Sam Raimi, a household name we're very familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Raimi first developed the concept of the Thor film in 1991.
Oh, my gosh.
Right, 20 years before the actual MCU film came out. But he soon abandoned the project, leaving it in quote-unquote development hell for several years. Rights were picked up by various film studios until Marvel signed Mark Petrosevich to develop the project in 2006 and planned to finance and release it through Paramount.
Interesting.
Matthew Vaughn was then assigned to direct the film for a tentative 2010 release. However, after Vaughn was released from his holding deal in 2008, Branagh was approached and the film's release was rescheduled to 2011.
That's interesting.
Wild, right? Yeah. So that's kind of how that...
Oh my gosh.
So imagine a Sam Raimi Thor film.
It's been dark.
And now, yeah, right? And so then he instead moves on to the Spider-Man trilogy 10 years later after that development.
That's true, yeah.
And then makes that giant leap over into Doctor Strange 2, which doesn't come out for another couple months.
I know.
So it's kind of crazy if you think about it, right? So they've really been trying to ingrain that man into the MCU since the dawning of ages. But imagine it.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy.
And then through Paramount and all that, like, whew. That's like the route that, that poor Frank Castle and, the Punisher and Daredevil and Elektra and all of them got kind of caught up in.
Dang. So Chris Hemsworth will be playing this character for 11 years. Because Thor 11 comes out this year, right?
Yeah.
End of this year.
End of this year.
Wow.
Ooh. Ooh, boy.
4 movies too. The only OG, but also MCU character to have 4 movies.
That's crazy. And consistently playing him in like What If
for a year straight, basically.
And presumably Guardians as well. And
oh my God,
not counting the Avengers films. Yeah, he's. But the great thing about Chris Hemsworth, which I feel is a little more than what can be said about some of the other actors and actresses, is that you can tell he really loves playing this character. Like he could probably play him for the rest of his life if he really wanted to. As long as he stays
buff.
But we have Fat Thor, we have Chubby Thor, we got Bro Thor.
Sorry, I buff shamed.
All good. You're good. And so, we're going to talk about the rest of, speaking of, we're going to talk about the rest of the films as we go along here, but I just wanted to note Thor Dark World while we're at it. Which of course came out in 2013, directed by Alan Taylor, screenplay by Christopher Yost, Christopher Marcus, and Stephen McFeely, story by Don Payne and Robert Rodat, and composed.
McFeely was one of the writers?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, man. Mm-hmm.
And then composed by Brian Tyler. And we have a listener question from Instagram.
Yes.
Speaking of Dark World, from one of our Patreon patrons, actually, Ariel Tima.
Woo.
Thoughts on Dark World? I remember it being super serious, but then Ragnarok was a party. Do you like the change they made with Thor?
We talked about this in which episode? Dark World? Was it the Loki?
I think it was Was it Loki? That was a long time ago. If it was couldn't be Loki, was it?
I am so wow.
I know. Ooh,
I remember we talked about. Oh, I think it was.
Was it Loki?
I think it was.
That feels like that was just yesterday, and that's episode 5.
I think it had to be because I remember I watched. Yeah, it was Loki because I remember I rewatched all the Thor movies.
Right. Yeah.
And then I remember we talked about the Dark World, and we're just like, I remember I'm saying like, I was like, why was I not such a fan of it? Like I have to go back and
it's the ether thing.
Yeah, and I watched it back. The story was there, like the stakes were there. I just feel like they tried to.
Now, do you think?
I think one of the things I said was it was different because it wasn't grounded, which is not a bad thing. It was just for that time and era, introducing something that's, you have like this Asgardian, things that are like different realms,
right,
and everything going back to Midgard, and then you bring up like the different Norse mythology, like realms.
Right.
I just think at the time in 2013, it wasn't really seen much on screen in film. So I think it didn't really gauge or connect with probably the audience, which I want to attest it to.
Yeah, I think so too.
And the whole like the ether thing, the sludge, it's inside of Jane and just traveling from like realm to realm, going back and forth between Earth and Asgard, and then different like realms. Mm-hmm. I think that was just like a jarring thing for viewers at the time. Yeah. But story-wise, I don't think it wasn't like bad. It wasn't like the worst thing in the world. Like I was like when I was watching it, I was like, okay, what are the stakes here? It's like, okay, they have this, and then there's Malekith. The dark elves, they want this because of something that the Asgardians did, I believe. Yeah. So okay, those are the stakes. Mm-hmm. And then the MacGuffin is the ether, obviously. Right, exactly. So it's like, okay, so they're all working towards one thing, and but there's a lot of different other like stories going on because you have Thor and Jane, Thor and Loki still being this,
And that was the film where Odin was sick too, right?
Odin was sick.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. And Frigga dies.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. On top of the love triangle, of course.
Even with like Heimdall and everything too, because the bridge, right?
The bridge broke.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then also like Darcy having an intern.
And then the Earth peoples. Yes. You have like this, you have like the scientist like story going on too.
Yeah.
And so
it was a lot. I could see.
It was a lot. It was pretty packed.
But like I said, with the Loki episode, like rewatching it, it resonated so much better.
Yeah. I rewatched it and I was like, I think it was fine.
I think it was fine. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot in retrospect. So
I was dreading way while I was like, damn, I gotta watch this. But then I was like,
it's not bad. Oh gosh. And so we're gonna pivot to the powers here. So I mean, like, it's kind of like we just said, it's so when it comes to powers and it comes to Thor, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is thunder.
What were you the god of again? I'm the goddess of death. Thunder!
Oh my gosh. So I'm going to do a quick riff of the comic book one because, dear Lord, this man has many powers. So,
of course.
Here we go. Worthiness enchantment, transformation, mythical link, weather control, flight, god blast, anti-force. That's planet annihilating for those of you who don't know. Thermoblast, energy absorption and redirection, matter manipulation, electromagnetic spectrum manipulation, cosmic energy sensing, netherworld power. He can tap into dark dimensions.
Interesting.
That's a nice little factoid for you.
Dark dimensions.
Teleportation, transmigration of souls, life force absorption, and illusion detection.
Dude, how come everyone's powers in the comics, everyone's basically like invincible?
That's the problem.
I don't get it.
Exactly. Everybody's got it's like the Eternals, right?
Yeah,
they were
I was gonna say,
all of them just had the same power and
I was talking about
insane.
Yeah. Oh, I was talking about with my housemate. He said he just watched Eternals on Disney Plus. And he was like, yeah, it was good. And then he was like, oh, I like that like their powers, each power is an individual power. Like each has their own unique individual power. Yeah. And I was like, and then I'm remembering our Eternals episode, I was like, oh yeah, because in the comics, they're literally OP. Like all of them. So it's like, how do you, yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, the dude has planet annihilating powers in the comic books and like things like
imagine if Thor had planet annihilating powers in the MCU.
He's like, oh, ego.
Like
he would have been done.
Like movie's done. Yeah, all right, roll credits.
But that's the reason, because there would be no plots, there would be no story if they didn't dull down these powers a little bit, right?
Who wins in the comics then?
I mean, that's why they got arcs, and that's why they go on for years. And it's nuts. It's nuts, and that's why comics are as enjoyable as they are.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but of course, with great power comes great tools, because we have Mjolnir. Mew Mew, as Darcy mentions.
Spider-Man.
Yes, sir. And so the hammer, Mjolnir, the hammer itself originated when a cosmic storm called the God Tempest threatened Asgard, ultimately defeated by Odin, who then trapped the power into a chunk of Uru, which is the metal. Uru. I know, it's like I have this it's like the Loki episode where I want to read everything in like an accent.
Uru.
Not an uru. An uru.
Shout outs to all the anime people, listeners.
So Odin trapped this power in a chunk of Uru metal that had been given to him by the dwarves of Nidavellir.
Nidavellir. This is in the comics.
In the comics.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so because I kind of love this kind of exposition that exists in the books, because like we don't see that ever in the movies. They're just like, he has a hammer.
Yeah, but I do like going back to the dwarves in Nidavellir.
Exactly.
It is brought. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Uru itself. Now I can't unhear it.
Sorry.
Uru itself originates from the first moon in existence. The first moon in existence. Oh. And so we're talking about more galactic, cosmic stuff going on, right? And so also, this property, while it looks and appears like metal, it looks like stone. Okay. It has metal properties, which makes it the perfect conductor for
lightning.
Thunder and lightning. Thunder. Gosh, what band is it? Was it Van Halen? No, it's not Van Halen. It's who does Thunderstruck?
AC/DC?
AC/DC. Why that hasn't been in a Thor film, I'm very upset about. So I hope like Taika pulls me a solid.
Hey.
I need that song.
I mean, he did.
Maybe Guardians will have it.
Zepp, right, in the last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I get my bands right.
Like it has to be in it. I need it. Anyway. So of course, in the MCU, like we've seen Mjolnir in all these films, and I just rewatched the Team Thor shorts that Taika did ahead of Thor Ragnarok.
Oh my God, I just watched some one-shots today.
Did you?
I started at the beginning, so
really? Yeah. And so
those ones are my favorite.
They're so good, and I forgot that they existed for a hot second. But of course, we unfortunately see Mjolnir crushed by Hela in Thor Ragnarok. That's how I'm going to segue into that film.
Pain.
2017, directed by Mr. Taika Waititi, written by Eric Pearson, Craig Kyle, and Christopher L. Yost, and composed by Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo and Rugrats fame.
Oh.
Did you not know that?
I did not know
Mark
that.
Mothersbaugh is one of the original members of Devo, and he composed like all of the Rugrats. Like he composed. Yeah, that's him. That's Mark
right
Mothersbaugh. And he, of course, he's done like a number of films.
Of course.
And he's great. But yeah, he composed Ragnarok. Of course, that's why you get those synths and all that. That's a specialty. And any thoughts on Ragnarok? Do you have a favorite film when it comes to the first three Thor films?
I mean, I think it has to be Ragnarok, just because it was so fresh. It's a total complete 180 of the first two films.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I know a lot of people hate it because it's so comedic.
Yeah.
And so
too funny.
Sure. I think people hate fun.
There's a way of putting it.
Well, because they see like this guy who's buff. He's a god.
Right.
He's like, he can literally beat you to a pulp. He's so strong, and he's cracking jokes.
Yeah. But that's the funny thing about that is that when I look at this Marvel masterpieces, I honestly, quite frankly, I feel Ragnarok in these cards because they're so vibrant.
Yeah, sure.
And so colorful and so like, I am Thor, hear me roar.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that's the kind of spirit that Taika Waititi really like captured. Is it my favorite Thor movie though? I don't know.
Like Thor standalones?
Yeah. I don't know.
Interesting. Well, I want to like bring up like his arc just throughout like the films.
Okay.
From Thor 1. So Thor 1, he's like,
I'm Thor.
He says, I'm Thor, very egotistical about himself, like royalty, god proper.
Yeah.
I'm the heir to this throne.
Yeah.
Goes on this journey and then when you get to Thor Ragnarok, he was it or let's go until end of Ragnarok. He's like, Asgard is not a place, it's a people. So he grows into being kind of like king of Asgard, but in like a different way that's not as formal as it once was.
Right, especially with Odin.
Yeah. So while he is the heir to the throne, he has also a journey of self-discovery, which I think is a lot of Marvel movies. And I know Marvel movies get a lot of flag of saying like, oh, it's the same recipe. And it's like, well, yeah, every hero needs a journey.
Yeah.
It can't all just be friggin'
like
just CGI fights, like exploiting their powers, for 90 minutes.
Like those 25 powers that
so it's like every hero needs a journey. It's just a matter of like, what does that journey look like and what do they discover about themselves? And I think at the end of that movie, come Ragnarok, at least, I think the journey he goes on is very, is very needed.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's like you took this guy who came from Asgard. All he knew was like royalty, the top, shelf stuff. And he gets thrown into this throwaway planet.
He gets thrown into the Bud Light.
Yeah.
He goes from Top Shelf to Bud Light.
Yeah. So it's like, and then he's put in a situation where he has no power, no control, and then he meets, Valkyrie, who I think is like his like crutch of familiarity.
Right.
Even though they both came from Asgard and now they're both in this crappy planet.
Yeah.
And so
Junkas.
And then he goes on this self-discovery on that planet. What's the name of the planet again? I forget.
Which one? Sorry.
What's the name of the trash planet?
Oh gosh.
They were on?
Sakaar. I was gonna say, is it the devil's
the devil's anus. Well, I mean that's the travel thing they have to go through.
Yeah.
But so
Sakaar.
Yeah, like
Sakarian.
He's not really self-absorbent anymore.
Yeah.
He's like, I need every single one of these people.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't know. I think he goes through the proper self-reflective journey to help him become the strongest version of Thor that he is today.
Yeah, and it's very similar to Iron Man in that regard because they go from this very self-serving, egotistical,
playboy, philanthropist, billionaire.
Yes, self-indulgent sort of persona.
100%.
And they're humbled.
Yeah,
they're just pulled by that chain. Like, no. You gotta stay humble somewhere, And I love that. It's like the deconstruction of the superhero and bringing them back.
Exactly.
To humanity.
I mean, I love that.
Yeah.
This is discovering the humanity of these heroes, which is why I like the MCU movies a lot. I think a lot of people get too caught up in like the whole bombastic aspect of it. They're like, he's Thor, he's Iron Man. He can just boom, boom, boom. He's Cap. He can just.
My sister's like that.
Punch him to the ground.
How come he's not doing? Why doesn't he just? Sorry, she doesn't sound like that. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry if she hears this.
She's gonna unsubscribe. We just lost a listener.
But like, she's also one of those people. Granted, she's not at all a fan of our caliber, if you will.
Sure.
She's just a casual enjoyer, but she is one of those people that's like, well, he's the god of thunder, wasn't he? Just and it's like, well, it's more than that.
She's a Scarlet Witch. I mean, she could have literally murdered everybody.
Yeah,
she
exactly,
can,
and she still can. She has time.
She just has a conscience.
Yeah, and
unlike
I feel like
Vision.
Right.
Oh, because he's dead.
Dang! double. Whoa!
Sorry, Wanda.
Roasted. Oh, poor
literally,
Wanda.
he was roasted.
Oh my
it's
God.
fine. White Vision has a conscience,
Jeff.
so it's fine.
Jeff. So I don't know. I agree with everything you just said. But now that I've said it out loud, I don't know what my favorite Thor movie is. Shoot, because I did enjoy. See, I loved Ragnarok so much when I first saw it.
Yes.
And then when I was doing my homework for Loki, a single Tumblr post kind of pulled me in and changed my perspective. Because they mentioned, and I mentioned this in episode 5, but they mentioned how like, and I get why the Loki fans are a little pissed because he went from this very regal character, god of mischief, to essentially he's almost powerless and he's being literally thrown around and playing,
in Ragnarok.
In
yes.
Ragnarok, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I kind of get it. And then like his outfit is even, not as grandiose as it used to be. It's not gold anymore. It's just leather, and he looked like a cosplayer, and I was like, dang, they were really just kind of they just did not like him in that film. But as an entire thing, Ragnarok I feel was, again, like you said, it was vibrant. It was a different change of flavor to that character in his universe, which I think was proper for if they were going to bring something like Sakaar in. You know what I mean? And like the Grandmaster, like, come on, can you see Jeff Goldblum in a dark film? Like, no way. Not even in Jurassic Park is that dude dark.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
never.
He's still vibrant, even wearing all black. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I don't know. It was a necessary change for me. And I think that it played a beautiful contrast in a way to the Thor we saw immediately after, which of course is Infinity War and Endgame Thor.
Yes.
Because, oh boy.
Yeah. Because
like,
I think, palate
cleanser.
Each Thor in each of those movies, Endgame Infinity War, Ragnarok, Dark World, first Thor.
Yeah.
It's every single film is a different version of Thor.
Yeah.
That you see.
It's very true. Yeah.
So it's like, if that's not character development, I don't know what is.
Yeah,
like, I know people are super mad that they kind of copped out Thor in Endgame because he got depressed.
Yeah.
People were like, you know, but I also think that's like people saying like, he's a demigod. He doesn't get depressed. And it's like, well, what if he did? Like, what if there was, and it was all justified because
he even says it. He says it to Rocket in the film.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, my mother died.
Like his brother died. He watched his brother die.
Yeah, exactly.
His mother died. His dad died. Sister died.
Yeah.
Tried to kill him.
Everything, right?
So it's like,
yeah, right.
You just kind of like lose it.
He lost it.
You know? Oh, and then he got attacked by Thanos in the ship.
Exactly. Like
come on, like, dude.
Dude is scary.
Yeah.
And the children. So it's like, oh gosh. Yeah. So I don't know, but I agree. You know, I think it's been a nice journey for him so far.
And then who knows where he goes in Love and Thunder. Maybe this might be, and because of like the set pics they posted, because he got even, I don't know how Chris Hemsworth can get even more buffer.
Yeah,
but he did, huge. Which is crazy.
It's so jacked.
So maybe this will be like the most powerful we've ever seen Thor in MCU.
Exactly. Speaking of Journey, in Journey, so like going back to Mjolnir in the books real quick, you know, that's all good and gravy, like Thor, power, all that good stuff in the MCU, right? The way he's presented. But if believe it or not, in the books, he had a certain power with Mjolnir, like actually holding the hammer. And so by stamping, again, with the hitting of this cane Mjolnir thing, whenever he would stamp it, it would conjure different outcomes. Okay. And I don't know that he has done that in the films, right? You don't see him like aggressively hit anything with the hammer, but he does kind of do this thing where he's like, after he summons it, he like, you know, sends it forth or whatever. But in the books, bear with me, this is really silly, and I'm kind of glad they canned this concept. But when he would stamp it twice, he can create any storm. So thunder, lightning, ice, snow, whatever the heck you want him to do. 3, so he had to do 1, 2, 3. It would end it. And then if he did it with 1, if he just did 1, he reverts it back to Donald Blake. He just goes back. He goes back into being a human. So imagine, if you will, like it was, I don't know, is that like Captain Planet? Is that Sailor Moon? Like, you know, like once he loses the trinket, if you will, he just turns into a normal human being again. So I'm kind of glad they got rid of that, you know, especially for the origin character. But that brings me to pop quiz number 2.
Okay.
This is so silly. So by rule of thumb, whoever possessed Thor would behold the power of Thor so long as it was physically in
their hand,
their grasp.
Okay.
How long did it take for, say, Donald Blake to return to normal once Mjolnir was no longer in his grasp? Multiple choice.
Okay.
Did it take 60 seconds, 15 seconds, 5 minutes, or 1 hour?
So how long did it take Donald Blake to turn, or how long did it take for Thor to turn back into Donald Blake?
Correct. Like if he dropped the hammer, how long would it be until he reverts back to his normal self?
Oh, it's so interesting.
It's like that. You know what I mean?
That's weird.
Right?
I'm trying to like comprehend it because obviously we don't see that in the movies.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
That's
how they handicapped him, if you will.
I get it.
Right? Like an interesting
so he has to. So okay. So like
I've dropped my hammer.
And he's like, I need to. It's like what hero is that? It's like
it's somebody, right? I'm like, who is it? I can't remember.
They can't. They don't have
Green Lantern.
Right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like without the ring.
Yeah.
I mean, I just watched Like Mike like over the weekend. And like, have you seen it?
Yeah.
And so it's like, without the shoes, he can't play basketball.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, gosh. Which is also based off of something too. Cinderella.
I mean, with the glass sliver. The glass slipper.
It's a glass slipper. Okay, so how long?
Clark Kent or Superman with glasses?
Yeah, I know. Right? I was just thinking. I was like, if he has his glasses on, no.
Well, so, I feel like if he needs to have it in his hand,
yeah,
he doesn't want to have it away for that long,
right?
Because if it's like, if it's 5 minutes, it's like I can do a fight,
yeah.
For like 2 or 3 minutes before I fully lose my powers of Thor. And he's like, that's fine.
Yeah. Weird.
60 seconds. Okay. It's emergency.
Yeah.
But not the end of the world.
That's like Evangelion. I think Evangelion, they have 60 seconds after see, I'm going to go back to the anime. Once their plug falls out, they're on 60 seconds emergency backup power.
They
have to do it before they just literally stop moving.
Jeez.
So 60 seconds, 15 seconds, 5 minutes, or 1 hour.
1 hour, my God. You're like, I dropped my hammer.
I got a whole hour.
I dropped my hammer and no one else can pick it up? Okay. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I got to go with 15 seconds.
15 seconds?
Yes.
All right. So here we go.
Uh-huh.
So looking at the comic. Whosoever holds his hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. So that's it. I must continually hold the hammer to retain Thor's strength.
Okay.
Next panel. If I let go of it in about 60 seconds, I revert back to my normal self. 60 seconds. So he has a full minute before he turns back into Donald Blake in the OG version. Crazy, right? But imagine if he did that in the MCU. And there was a Donald Blake, which, by the way, is the
Easter egg.
The Easter egg that he's wearing was it Jane's boyfriend? Yeah. In the very first Thor, he's wearing a shirt and it
says D Blake.
It says D Blake on it. But yeah, so imagine if in the films, the minute he let go of the hammer, he regressed into a human version of himself after 60 seconds.
That was just like a lot of CGI.
That's a lot. Yeah, it's
no wonder they dropped that idea.
Lou Ferrigno stuff waiting to happen. And so I wanted to, before I put this comic away for the very last time, I want you to read this panel.
Okay.
In your best Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, God. Oh, God. All right.
Yeah.
All right. To give a visual picture, guys, Thor is flying up with Mjolnir.
Meow.
Oh my God! Your hammer pulled you off. That's all I can hear. That's all I can hear from this panel right here. Oh my God! Your hammer pulled you up. No, the hammer. I would swing it and it would pull me. Oh my God! Okay. All right. Here we go. This is gonna be my worst Thor impression. There, I release my whirling hammer for a split second, catching the unbreakable thong, and then I am pulled along after it like a tail of a rocket.
Now,
Jesus.
If you didn't hear that.
A thong?
Unbreakable thong.
It threw me off.
That's why I wanted you to read it. So the little leather thing at the bottom of Mjolnir, at the little thing he swings.
The strap. Yeah.
He's calling it a thong.
That's hilarious.
Unbreakable thong. So
they got to put this into a dialogue for Chris Hemsworth.
Oh my gosh. I'm surprised Taika Waititi hasn't yet.
Oh my
gosh. Oh, go.
Your hammer.
You got unbreakable thong, right? So we have another listener question.
Okay.
If you would like. So via Instagram, Andrew Frank 17.
Ooh.
One of our Patreon patrons, actually. Movies or comics? Who would you like to see lift his hammer?
Oh, wow.
That is not a euphemism. I had to do it.
Jane Foster.
Woo, baby.
Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah, right? Like this could be anybody. And we have obviously seen this in Endgame with Captain America.
Only one person
which was like, woo, still to this day, chills.
Wow.
Chills up and down.
I would say top 5 moment.
Top
MCU.
5. Oh, easy.
For sure.
Easily. Oh my goodness. Captain America with that.
Interesting.
Woo! Yeah. So and I don't think I put this on my notes, but it's kind of like back to the What If episode.
Yeah.
And I pulled out all those comics, and one of the comics was what if Rogue had possessed the power of Thor. So imagine, if you will, like there's a Rogue. What if there's a Rogue version carrying Mjolnir around, or Captain America? Like, who would be your person?
Who would you say?
I don't know about that. Like, I kind of got it with Jane Foster, so I'm kind of like,
and she's gonna do it.
Yeah, she's gonna do it.
That's not a spoiler.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Other than Cap and Jane,
It's tough,
especially when you got somebody like Thor running around. Throg, and you got and there's so many interesting characters that have held the
Mjolnir in the
already,
comics.
both in the comics and the
I know
films.
Captain Marvel is like carried it, right? No, sorry.
No.
No.
Viz.
Hold on. Tip of my tongue. Nebula.
Yes.
Or am I thinking? Oh,
Wait,
God,
no, she had the
I'm
gauntlet.
bringing up the gauntlet.
Yeah,
man.
she had the gauntlet in Infinity
That's
War.
what I'm thinking of. Who's wielded the gauntlet? Whatever.
Yeah, in the comics.
digress.
In the comics, she did some damage. But yeah, I don't know. And I will say it was very satisfactory to see Groot pull together, which we're going to talk about just after this discussion, Stormbreaker. I thought that was very cool because that's also got the same properties as Mjolnir, in that there's like this worthiness that goes into using it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool how they've done it in the MCU, where it's not so much about worthiness, but it's also like pure of heart in some way, which is like, oh, that's kind of nice.
I think I have someone, because I was literally trying to go back to be like, okay, like whose skill set would like kind of complement more. You know, obviously when we saw Cap use it, it's like, oh well, he's like a seasoned fighter.
I knew it.
And then that was good. He's like a seasoned fighter, but he also has Thor.
Yeah.
Thor's like power of Mjolnir. So it's like, oh man, like seeing Cap use Mjolnir for like 20, 30 seconds, it was just like,
woo,
wow, holy crap.
That uppercut.
Yeah.
Bruh.
What I would love to see, only because like it'd be hilarious and just like the biggest like troll, but also makes sense. Maybe not necessarily make sense, but just be like, of course this person would, like, how funny it would be if this person like was able to just lift Thor. Deadpool.
You know what? That's the answer. That's the answer. Like, why not see
like that'd be
Deadpool,
hilarious.
like with
to be,
Mew Mew?
like I can just imagine Ryan Reynolds being like, worthy might act.
It's like
losers.
junk. I could see him tossing it away.
Like, what kind of screenwriting thing was that?
Oh, paperweight.
Who says you have to be worthy? Bullshit.
Can you imagine? Oh, Pooley would be so good with it.
That'd just be like hilarious.
He would be the type to leave it on somebody's chest too, just like Thor has.
Exactly. Like, it's just.
I love it. Oh, that's good. That's a good question and good answer.
Even as like a joke.
Yeah.
Like whenever
good.
Deadpool 3 or if Deadpool makes an appearance in MCU, it'll just be like, oh, can you move that over here?
Yes, I need it. So speaking of Stormbreaker, in the books, I wrote down, it's a thick boy in the books whose origin was quite similar to that of the movie, though under different circumstances. So, like we've all seen what Stormbreaker looks like. MCU version, Groot is the handle.
The handle, yeah.
And then, so in the book, it is quite thick. It looks like a big hammer almost.
Yeah.
It's hammer on one side, axe on the other.
Yeah.
And so, in the books, long story short, Beta Ray Bill of Corbin, he won a battle against Thor, and then Odin had the dwarves of Nidavellir create a new hammer for the warrior crafted from the same metal as Mjolnir. And then that's how Stormbreaker was forged. And we haven't seen Beta Ray Bill in a proper form yet, but I do believe he was one of the monument heads in Ragnarok. That building.
Yeah,
you know, they
okay.
had the 4 people.
Yeah.
Beta Ray Bill is the horse-looking one.
Okay.
So he's like huge. And that's why there was that whole speculation, you know, of course, to be debunked later that like Christian Bale was going to voice him or be him in the film because, you know, I believe.
Oh my gosh, I forgot.
Yeah.
I forget Christian Bale's in the next Thor movie.
Well, that's kind of like me and when the Moon Knight trailer dropped, I totally forgot Ethan Hawke was in it. And I was like, oh God, that's right. Ethan Hawke is in we have Ethan Hawke and Christian Bale in the MCU now. Holy cow. And so the creation of Stormbreaker itself more or less negated the previous 60-second rule. So once that came along, it was like, you don't gotta do that 60-second rule anymore. No. That's kind of dumb. And of course, very similar to Mjolnir, it's made of the Uru metal and it's nearly indestructible. And so with Stormbreaker comes a few additional powers for Thor or whoever holds it. Worthiness, power of recall, so they can call it back, of course. Yeah. Transformation. So for Beta Ray Bill, you know, like much like Donald Blake and Thor, Beta Ray Bill has a mortal human version of himself named Simon Walters.
Ah, okay.
So if we see Christian Bale's name attached to that name,
noted.
There we go. Force projection, flight, energy, and weather manipulation, portal creation, and energy sensing. And so, that's cool. And we haven't seen Stormbreaker since Endgame so far, right? That's it. Because he killed Thanos and then he used it as Big Boy Thor. And that's it.
Yeah.
So,
that's it.
Which leads us to another listener question. From Ariel once again. Do you prefer buff Thor or fat Thor?
Oh. Ooh.
Right? And it's more than just that, of course. It's really like we just talked about, you know, it's more of the persona behind the physique and the journey that he's gone through. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, big boy chubby bro Thor is depressed. And, you know, a lot of us know that life.
Yeah, well, I like where they. I know a lot of people hate it just because, you know.
Why?
Like,
just because he wasn't good looking, or because
it was just
such
like, I think it was like the whole depression
slug,
thing.
Yeah,
it was just like, how are you?
He was drunk.
He's like, like they totally like, what's the word? Like they totally like nerfed Thor, kind of, you know.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And
I hear
nerfed
a lot.
Like, well, I mean, he's still a god. Like he's just going through a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Because it's not like Odin just was born looking that way. Like he was probably svelte in his day.
100%. Yeah.
And there you go. You get Anthony Hopkins.
I think my favorite version of Thor. I mean, I do like Fat Thor, just because, you know, the journey that he went on, especially throughout Endgame.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite version of Thor is the journey that's in Ragnarok. I like that journey of Thor a lot.
Short hair Thor.
Yeah.
Short hair don't care Thor.
Yeah, and then the haircut by the famous Stan Lee. That one's like, please, old man, you better keep those away from me.
Oh, yeah.
No, don't.
I love it. Oh gosh, and they have so many toys of that version of Stan, which is kind of like, it's an interesting choice, but I'll allow it. Have you seen the Bro Thor Cos Baby? So I'm obsessed with Cos Babies.
Oh yeah,
right.
Di's obsessed with that stuff.
So they're better than Funko. I said what I said. They're a little more expensive, of course. They're like $20 compared to a $10 Funko. But the quote unquote casual wear version of Bro Thor is so cute.
That's cool,
isn't it cute? And he's got a bowl of chip and dip.
You're dripping left, Lebowski.
I love it. He's like a tiny Lebowski. And then they even have like the Thor version. So
that's cool.
He's cute. Yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite. I mean, I'm very, I don't want to say attracted, but I'm going to say attracted to the Dark World Thor. But in terms of personality, maybe Ragnarok as well. If not Endgame, which then would categorize Bro Thor. I don't know. I'm a personality kind of girl.
I also like the small journey Thor went through in Infinity War.
Yeah.
It went from it went from like loss, grief, loss, rageful.
He went through all the stages, dude.
Yeah.
Right?
He went through all of it.
All
He was like,
stages of
oh my
grief.
gosh, I lost Loki.
Yeah.
Oh my God, half my people, all my people died.
Yeah.
Then he's like, cool. In the words of Peter Parker, I stopped pulling my punches.
Yes.
That's what he did.
That's very true.
And that was his intent when he got Stormbreaker from Nidavellir. And then you see that kind of all-encompassing look when he lands in Wakanda via the Bifrost.
Yeah. With Rocketing Groot.
Yeah, which is another top 5 moment.
Oh my God.
I've never, I think that was like the first time I've gotten like chills.
Dude,
and I was like, whoa.
For people who did not get to experience Endgame and Infinity War in the theater, like I can't even, I feel so like my condolences because that was truly like.
That entrance was top.
Oh my God.
Might be even top 3.
So good.
So like that was just crazy.
Yeah.
And then at the end of Infinity War, he, instead of going for the head, he, like you said, he stopped pulling his punches. He wanted to really make him suffer.
Yeah, exactly.
And he just like stabbed him in the chest,
Yeah.
but Thanos still got what he wanted.
Should have aimed for the head.
No! And then he experiences loss again.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then he kind of goes through the same journey, but even deeper.
And then that frickin' title card, 5
Yeah.
years later.
He
It's
even
ooh.
he reached like a plateau of like that journey at the end of Infinity War. And then he reached a peak at the beginning of Endgame when he sliced his head off.
Yeah.
And then he just went 6 feet
Yeah.
even deeper
Yeah.
into that
Yeah.
kind of depression. And then it was just like,
Yeah.
And then he redeemed himself.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? Because you see it like when Bruce and Rocket go to visit him when he's with Korg and Meek.
Yeah.
Meek. And he says, he's like, oh yeah, I'm the guy. I'm the guy that I cut him.
yeah.
I cut his head off.
And then he's like,
And-
don't ever mention
yeah,
that name.
and yet he can't hear the name.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, you killed him, but you
Yeah.
can't deal with it.
Yeah,
huh?
like he's
And
still
it's like,
haunting you.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the end game, it's kind of like it's kind of like Tom Holland's journey at the end of No Way Home. It's a clean slate.
yeah,
He's not a ruler of Asgard.
yeah,
He's
that's
just
a good point.
He's just
Thor. That's it.
with
yeah.
the Guardians of the Galaxy because that's his only
Guardians
yeah.
of the Galaxy.
back again.
Okay.
Of course.
Of course. And so, believe it or not, there is actually one more weapon that has not yet been introduced into the MCU that is in the books. And it's called, I don't know if it's, I'm going to say it the way I think it's said. And I believe it is pronounced Yonborn. And it looks like Bjorn. And I know it's not Bjorn because I know Bjork. Oh, shoot. Maybe it is Bjorn. But Yarnbjorn. And so Yarnbjorn is a dwarf forged battle axe created for Runa, who is actually one of the original members of the Valkyrior. Valkyrior.
Oh, okay.
So short little thing into Runa. After Runa mysteriously disappeared, it was stored in Asgard's armory and eventually taken up by Thor long before he obtained Mjolnir. So there's some little deep dive for you there.
All right.
And then we have another listener question, this time from Instagram, Captain Cheese.
Oh, shoot.
Is that
That's Caesar.
Oh.
What's up, Caesar?
Oh,
Yeah.
Caesar. Is he cheese?
Huh?
Is it cheese or is it C's? Captain Cheese or Captain C's?
I want to say cheese.
I like cheese.
Same. Oh, craving cheese now.
So Captain Cheese asks, how did Stark bring back Thor from the death in Civil War? And how did Thor die before that? So I was, at first when I read this question, I was like, wait, he wasn't in Civil War. And I was like, oh wait, he's talking about the comic book.
He's I've talked to him a little bit time to time.
Yeah.
He's really, the comics. Yeah.
So this could be completely wrong by his standards. But so simply said, speaking of Ragnarok, So Thor sacrificed himself rather than join this cult named Those Who Sit Above in Shadow.
Okay.
So there was this cult. He was like, I don't want to join your weird cult. And he sacrificed himself during this battle. And then after death, he was in this limbo dimension where then he was called by both Donald Blake and Mjolnir. Like, no, you need to go back to Earth and do the thing. And he was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. And they're like, no, go back and do it. So he comes back to Earth. And amidst that time frame, Civil War was happening. And so, reminder, Civil War in the comics was indeed like the books in the regard that it was Iron Man versus Captain America.
Yes.
And that whole clause and the thing about registering and all that. And Thor was like, no, I am neither. So he chose to be neutral. And then that kind of got a little complicated because during all of this craziness, Iron Man had at one point obtained like a lock of his hair.
Okay.
DNA created a cyborg version based off of Thor's DNA.
It's very Tony Stark.
Very Tony Stark, right? And then they had a squabble, and then that was it. That was the end of that. And so that kind of takes place in 2007, if anybody wants to read that. But so yeah, it's more or less. I hope that's kind of
that question was all you. I know. I wouldn't been able to answer that.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but that's an interesting thought because like, imagine that going down in Civil War versus the Team Thor that we got where he just vacations in Australia and Mjolnir is taking a nap in a drawer.
Yeah.
Like very different there. Stark contrast, if you will.
Oh, 100%. I mean, yeah. What if you had Hulk and friggin' Thor in that Civil War battle? Yeah. It would have sucked.
It would have sucked. It wouldn't have been as good. It wouldn't have been as impactful because they were, again, and you mentioned it, they're grounded characters versus, and it's kind of like taking away their powers a bit. Because if they're too powerful, then it's just like...
Yeah, each team already had one super powerful person, Vision and Wanda. They're fine.
Exactly. So are you ready to talk family and friends?
Oh, God.
So I'm gonna open that with this Asgardians trading card that I have from Skybox. Is this Skybox? Skybox in 1993, Marvel Universe. And so the card itself features Loki, Thor, and Odin. But on the back, these, let me just say very quickly that this set was essentially like every page of a card holder has 9 slots.
Okay.
And so this set, all 9 cards put together like a puzzle. So it's one big picture. And so this Asgardians card is part of one gigantic thing of different realms and different species and races of people. And so it says, home dimension Asgard. Once worshipped by humans as the Norse gods, the Asgardians are a race of noble warriors with greatly extended lifespans. Their epic battles have often spilled over into the earthly plane, causing both awe and fear throughout mankind. And it says the representatives are Thor, Odin, Balder, Loki, Sif, Heimdall, and Hogun. First appearance, Journey into the Mystery, same issue as Thor. And then it says, did you know Asgard can only be reached via the Rainbow Bridge, a special interdimension passageway? Yes, we knew that actually.
The Rainbow Bridge.
The Rainbow Bridge. So yeah, I mean, we've kind of chit-chatted about Odin and Frigga quite a bit.
Yeah.
In the Loki episode. So I don't think I'll go too deep into them. And of course, portrayed by Sir Anthony Hopkins and Rene Russo, respectively. And she's no relation to the Russo brothers, FYI. I had to look. I was so curious. I was like, wait.
I would have been sick.
Yeah. But a tremendous stark contrast to Thor's comic book family. And I mentioned this at the top of the show, is that his mother, his biological mother is actually Gaia. And it's not Frigga. Frigga is the stepmother, which I think we briefly mentioned also in Loki because, of course, the frost giants and all that stuff. So for Thor, Gaia, it's spelled Gaea, which is also a derivative of Gaia, as in like Mother Earth, Gaia. Yeah. She was one of the elder gods who materialized on Earth before life manifested. So do you remember when we last spoke of the elder gods?
The elder god. Oh man.
Yeah, we just talked about them with the Doctor Strange episode.
Oh yes.
And they came up with the demiurge.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And so she is one of them. She is one of those. So here we go again. The Marvel universe is just interweaving within one another. And so we're not going to go too deep into her, but she essentially she mated with many second generation gods of Earth and birthed their children, one of which was Thor from Odin.
Okay.
So that's his mama in the comics. As far as his other friends go, of course, who would we be without mentioning Lady Sif and the Warriors 3? And funny enough, they had a page in the calendar last week
for Warriors. Nice.
For Warriors 3. So I'm going to read their little thing. Like their fellow long-lived Asgardians, the Warriors 3 possess superhuman strength, agility, and durability. Fandral is the master of blades and sword fighting. Hogun excels in the battlefield medicine and bludgeoning weapons. And Volstagg exhibits enormous power and overall combat prowess. So, sorry, there's actually a typo in there, so that's kind of funny. Marvel. Simply said, those three, Fandral, Hogun, Volstagg, they're pretty similar both ways. You can see that Hogun is not Japanese in the books, but he is he's like of European descent in the comics. So in the comics, they're known as Fandral the Dashing, Hogun the Grim, and Volstagg the Enormous. Can't imagine why they named him Enormous. He's freaking gigantic. But do you remember the weird thing about the Fandrals when it came to the films? You remember? This is one of those rare instances when two different actors played the character.
And no one noticed?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, no, I don't remember that.
Oh my gosh, really? Oh, I remember when I first saw it, I was like, what the hell? Because originally, and by the way, we're going to discuss Sif a little later because she does play a bigger role beyond just being a friend. But Fandral was originally portrayed by an actor named Joshua Dallas, who I believe was on Once Upon a Time or something. Mm-hmm. And then Zachary Levi. So he's Zachary Levi in everything after Thor. Damn. It's Zachary Levi. So it's Shazam.
Oh, that's right.
Right. And wow. I remember seeing, because I liked Joshua Dallas as Fandral, and I love Zachary Levi. So I was kind of like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But it was just weird because I was like, what happened? You just swapped him out.
Maybe, like, yeah, this is contract.
But yeah, I know. And it was actually, I think it was something. Oh, Joshua Dallas couldn't get out of Once Upon a Time or whatever he was on.
Oh.
And then Zachary Levi, who was the first choice to begin with, was free. So they were like,
switch it back.
We got him back. So they got him back. And then Hogun the Grim, of course, portrayed by Tadanobu Asano, sorry.
Nice.
Excuse me. And then Volstagg the Svelte, not enormous, is portrayed by Ray Stevenson. So they were awesome. And I'm kind of sad that they perished in Ragnarok.
Yeah, I was thinking in my head. Yeah. I was like, what happened to these? Off. And it was just like, well,
yeah, they were there for 5 seconds, and they were like, well, they're dead. They got stabbed. I know. And then, of course, Lady Sif, portrayed by Jamie Alexander.
She's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, speaking of multiple actors.
Gosh.
For one character, Geoffrey, pop quiz for you. Okay. You ready for this?
No.
All right. So, Fandral was one of the few characters played by multiple actors in the MCU. Can you name the other 4?
Oh, you're not asking me this right now.
Hey, it's an MCU question. You got to know this. So characters played by multiple actors.
I know one. Oh, you said 2 or 3?
4.
One of 4?
There are 4.
There are 4 after Fandro?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Around, like, not concurrently after.
Yeah,
Fandral.
but like,
Yeah. Beyond Fandral. Yeah.
Okay, so total 5 then.
Yeah.
Okay. 1 is definitely War Machine.
Okay. Do you remember who played him?
You're having me rethink my answers.
Yeah. Although real quick, all things aside about Terrence Howard in general, I loved him as Rhodey.
He was really good.
Yeah. But then, I love Don Cheadle more, so it's fine.
Yeah. So we got Don Cheadle, Terrence Howard.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
This is gonna be okay.
You can do it.
I'm gonna have to think about this. Oh man, I hate having to cycle through all the different movies in my head.
I just imagine it's like the original opening sequence to the films where it'd be the comic book flips.
Yes.
But that's your brain and you're going through all the actors.
Slot machines?
Yes.
They just don't stop.
Great.
That's no. Like, when it stops?
Oh, yeah.
When my brain is literally just the slot machine continuously going. Yeah. And never winning.
Right.
and never winning.
Blasted penny slots.
So we have, oh my God.
You can do it.
This is going to bother me because it's going to be like, yeah, you're right.
You can do it.
Oh, Netherlands. Okay. Okay. So we got Don Cheadle, Terrence Howard, War Machine.
Yep.
Wow. How come I can't think of it more? I feel like it's very prominent.
There is one that is incredibly prominent.
Yeah. If I ask for a hint of what movie it is it obvious?
It doesn't matter what movie it is. You don't have to know the transition, but...
No, I know, but it's just like...
Okay,
wait.
Hint. I'm always angry.
Oh, duh. Yeah. Sorry, because I don't think... For some reason...
You don't count it, huh?
The Incredible Hulk is just...
You don't count it. That's technically MCU, bro.
I know. It is. But okay.
So
we got Mark Ruffalo, Edward Norton.
Edward Norton, of course, and then the first of them all, technically not MCU.
Literally the most obvious one. Jesus.
Eric Bana. So Eric Bana, we went from Eric Bana to Edward Norton to Mark Ruffalo. So we've had 3 Hulks.
Yes.
Technically in the MCU.
Okay.
Technically.
So that's 2.
Yeah. So that's 2. You got one of them 3. For sure.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, here's a tiny hint. The last 2 are both villains.
Are both what?
Villains.
The last 2 are both villains. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I think I know one of them.
Okay.
Red Skull?
Yeah.
Red Skull. I wish Hugo Weaving did.
The second one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then followed by Ross Marquand.
Who
Marquand
plays a lot of the characters in What If.
Dude, he is like literally everybody in What If. Because he is so good. And again, he is the actor that I forget his name on the show, but he's on The Walking Dead. And I praised him for his work on What If, and he liked it on Twitter. So hey ho. What's up, Ross? But he is fantastic. He is a true voice actor and a true character actor.
He's great.
He's so good. But I forgot to mention in Doctor Strange, in the Doctor Strange episode, I made note to tell you, and I completely forgot. But in the first appearance of Doctor Strange in that half book, right? I gotta show you the whole look of Red Skull, played by Ross Marquand in Endgame and Infinity War, is actually from, I believe it's an homage from that book. But yeah, go ahead and think of,
oh my gosh,
think of the last one that remains, and then I'll pull this up.
Villain.
Yep.
A villain.
A villain.
Oh man. Oh, now I gotta think of all the villains.
And this one, I admit, I pretty much forgot.
Really?
But I did remember. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this.
Oh God. Okay.
Oh, so here it is. See, look at this. This is like, and this is the first appearance of Doctor Strange, but that's the character, is it not?
Oh yeah.
It's the character that's on Vormir.
Yeah, 100%.
I was like, they
cape
just put,
and hood and everything.
Yeah, and they just in the chains. They just put a.
Okay, let's go through the let's go through the villains, guys.
Okay.
Yeah. We got okay. Huh? Oh my God, there's so many of them. Oh, and they went from one, like they changed from like one movie to the next movie.
This is a tricky one. Yeah, actually, it was one actor in the first film that this character appeared in.
Yes.
And then by the time you see the character again, it is a 100% another person.
Crap. Oh man.
You might hate me for this one.
Oh, I might hate myself for it. I'm trying to think, like, is it voice wise? Okay, are we doing a physical? Like okay, like what villains were physical? What villains were voice only?
Yeah.
Oh God, hold on.
It's a heavy lift.
Huh?
This is a heavy lift. Like it's a tough one. It's
tough?
really tough. It's a tough one. Like
okay.
I'm sure that most people don't know this.
Oh my lordy, Michael Jordy. I cannot.
Okay.
Give me another like hint.
I'll do it myself.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot his voice was completely different in the
and
first.
mocap.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Completely different
person.
Thanos.
So Thanos was originally played by an actor named Damien Poitier.
He even looked different
And
in his first appearance.
He looked different. And that's also why he looked different. And he didn't say anything, but he did the... That was Damien Poitier.
He got credits for it.
He got credit for it because he was, for all intents and purposes, was going to be Thanos.
Uh-huh.
And then Marvel decided, oh, wait, we can do Infinity War.
Like we can
And
do
then
a
they
Thanos.
changed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
To which they then said, so sorry, Damon, but we decided to move on creatively in a different direction. And he was like, okay, cool. And then he ended up appearing in Captain America Winter Soldier as one of Crossbones' henchmen. So if you see a big black dude in the,
You
he's
mean
like, that's
Civil War?
him. Was it Civil War? Sorry. Civil
Crossbones?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess it was Civil War. Yeah, he's a big dude.
Oh, okay.
He is like formidable as hell. And so
that's right.
we went from Damien Poitier to Josh Brolin.
See, that's why I would have never, because Thanos, he just
it's
says,
so subtle, right? Yeah.
And that was at the end of the first Avengers.
Yeah. We used to see his
And
profile.
he was pink too.
Yeah, he was a little more pink.
He was on the pink side.
A little more contrasty.
Yeah.
And his eyes were different, and he had more of that ballsy chin.
Yeah.
The ball sack chin, as
Yeah.
Peter Quill would say. So there's a pop
Well, I
quiz
mean,
for ya.
I think they made a really good choice.
Oh, me too. I mean, oh my gosh, that voice on that man, I can't tell you.
You cannot live with your own failure.
Oh my God, so
And where
good.
did that bring you? Back to me.
Back to me. Josh
So
Brolin.
good. I can't unhear it.
Yeah,
I can't see him the same in Dune.
Oh, he's so good, and he's Cable. God,
And Cable too.
kill me. He's so good as Cable.
Thanos?
So good. Love it. Oh, and then of course, that's not the end of the friendship list. Korg.
The best friend.
Like I mentioned, he's one of the original Cronin in his first issue appearance. And in the books, he seems to be more closely aligned with Hulk. And as far as like
Strength
friends and
just-
associates, yeah, like he's more of a Hulk sort of co-star than he would be a Thor one.
Got it.
And then Meek, I had to look him up because I was like, nah, there's a Meek.
Is he?
There's a Meek. They're
Nice.
not like they are in Ragnarok, for instance, but he's a Sakaran insect warrior.
Okay.
Who does not look like he looks in the MCU.
Of course.
He looks like almost like a giant praying mantis mated with an alien, like the alien's alien.
Oh my gosh.
It is
that
weird.
sounds
It's like a giant
terrifying.
insect. It's a giant insect. And I wrote in my notes, who is not at all as cute as his MCU counterpart. Golden Meek.
Oh, Meek's dead. Meek's dead. I'm just scared. Meek. Oh, Meek, you're alive. Oh my God.
My face when that happened, when he was like, oh, he's dead. I was like, oh! I visibly and like vocally reacted in the theater. Because it was so jarring.
It was so deadpan too. He's like, Korg, Meek. Oh, Meek's dead. I was like, oh my God. Oh, okay.
So good. Taika. Killing me, Taika.
Oh, so good.
So Korg and Meek in the MCU are portrayed respectively by Taika Waititi and Stephen Murdoch, aka a pile of rocks. Oh, dead. Depending on who you asked. They put that in his like aliases. I was like, his aliases? Got it. Okay. And then last but not least, friend, adversary, nobody knows, Loki, portrayed by Tom Hiddleston. Needs no introduction. Go back and listen to our episode, please.
Oh yeah.
Which rolls us right into adversaries, which again, we've discussed Loki, not going to do it again. So yeah, in the MCU and in the books, it's kind of streamlined. It's like what we have discussed in all of these episodes, really. They're really, really consistent about picking enemies and adversaries for these characters in the films. That are pretty standard and pretty parallel to the comic book counterparts. So let's just go down the line, I guess, in order of succession when it comes to films and whatnot. So speaking of Malekith is the more or less. Oh, actually, no, that's kind of backwards. King Laufey was the first one. So
from the first Thor.
From the first Thor, and of course, he's Loki's biological father, and he in the MCU is portrayed by Colm Feore. Colm. Yeah, I'm sorry, I botched that. God dang.
I'm gonna keep that in.
I still can't even say. I can't even say Hoggoth. So, yes, a Colm Feore, and followed by Malekith the Accursed. So. This calendar thing is actually just the stats one. So his real name is Malekith. Occupation. That's the thing I love about these superhero things. They put like occupation.
Yeah, as if being a bad guy is a freaking job.
So Malekith's occupation is Master Sorcerer. His height is 6'9". His weight is
tall.
Yeah, weight is 185 pounds, and his first appearance is Mighty Thor number 344 in June 1984. So he came a little later, came about 20 years later. And in the books, again, he's, I didn't say that yet, but he's the dark elf of Svartalfheim.
Nice.
Sure, I'm going to go with that. I'm going to keep that. That was strong.
Oh, yeah, that was very good.
And he, of course, is a character very rich in Marvel lore across the board for so many different reasons. And it's because he is a book jumper. He is in different situations and he comes, in and out of the storylines. Not only Thor, but, everybody in that periphery too. So not going to go into him because all the potential in the world. Because, of course, in the MCU, he's portrayed by Christopher Eccleston, who is of the Doctor Who fandom. And also he was in Heroes season 1, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that in obviously decades.
Ages. Yeah. Ages. But I remember how excited everybody was that he was in that too. Yeah, he's a powerhouse, that guy. And then of course we move along to Surtur, the fire giant.
That's right.
Is he? He's in Ragnarok.
Ragnarok, yeah. He's the one who fulfills the prophecy.
The prophecy of Ragnarok. Yeah. So he's based off of a fire giant. Surtur. See, they did it again where they're spelling it a little different. Therefore, it's not the same.
Oh, are they spelling?
So in Marvel spells it Surtur.
Yes.
And then in Norse mythology, it's Surtr. So Surtur versus Surtur. Surtur. Bless you. And from Muspelheim, land of the fire demons and one of the 9 worlds.
Yes.
And then more or less pretty much the same when it comes to MCU. He's portrayed by Taika Waititi.
Nice.
And voiced by Clancy Brown. And like you just said, he brought forth Ragnarok. So I added this character late because I watched the Team Thor part 1 and 2 before you got here, but then I watched the Team Daryl.
Team Daryl, baby.
Which I don't think I saw until today for some reason.
You haven't seen that one?
And I didn't know, because I didn't see the Grandmaster one. So I was like, oh my God. So I put the Grandmaster down because he's kind of an adversary, I guess. He's not a friend.
Sure, yeah.
So in the comics, this is a character I'm very familiar with, perhaps even more than I am Thor, to be honest, because he's so ingrained in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Sure.
So, and that comes because he is, and I think I mentioned this before, he is the brother of the Collector.
Oh,
so
yes.
Jeff Goldblum and Benicio del Toro are brothers in the MCU.
I mean, even if they were brothers in real life, I believe it too.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I feel like they're actually friends too. But so in the books, his real name is Induigast. Like Tanalir Tavan, and then I wanted to say it like Tanalir Tavan with the arm.
I will no longer serve you no more. Karina! Karina, no!
Wow! Oh, that's officially my favorite impersonation.
Was that one good? Was that one good?
That's number one. None of them, not even Black Widow, compares to that one. I am done. Whoa! That is my top number one slot of Geoffrey impersonations. Oh my God! By the way, did you know Karina is actually Tanalir Tavan's daughter?
In the comics?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, she's Karina Tavan.
Oh, that's
So he
even darker.
Killed his own daughter. Weird,
Yikes.
right? So
Turned into a slave also.
yeah, exactly. He's like, you're my daughter. What did he say? Should elbow? Use your elbow.
Use your elbow.
Yeah.
It's circles.
In circles.
We have guests.
Yeah. So back to the Grandmaster. He is one of the ageless elders of the universe, aka the last survivors of otherwise extinct races. So it's kind of like a Noah's Ark situation, except there's only one. And they were like, okay, well, we're the last of all of us. So we're the elders of the universe. Which, technically Gamora should have been one of them too, but that's another story for another day. There are actually over 20 of these elders in existence. Two of which, speaking of Karina, one is Karina and one is Ego.
Wow.
We're going real deep into Guardians of the Galaxy land. And of course, so like the Collector. So the Collector collects things.
Of course. As he should.
As he should. And so for the Grandmaster, of course, his big deal is that he mastered most civilizations, like games of skill and chance. So he's all about games. He's a gamer. He's a
Jesus,
gamer.
Man.
Yeah, exactly.
They really got that to a T in Ragnarok.
I know, exactly. I love it. They really did it well. And the interesting thing about the Grandmaster is that, they have, like, again, we've mentioned the Black Panther young adult novel, and there's also the Gamora and Nebula one.
Yeah.
And he's a prominent character in the Gamora and Nebula one.
Oh.
And so he's doing what he does. He's like, okay, would you like to make a wager? And, it's all about gambling, and it's all about, okay, well, if you have a champion, choose your champion. Who's your champion?
Yeah.
And then, he and Thanos actually sit down and they make a bet on who would win between Gamora and Nebula.
It's dark.
It is dark. The entire novel. I was like, this is a young adult novel. It's pretty heavy.
Jeez.
But he's very prominent in that. And he's always been prominent again in the Guardians books. So I enjoy that character a lot. Of course, portrayed by Jeff Goldblum.
The best.
And then as far as the most recent adversary goes, Hela, who we also talked about in Loki.
Yeah.
And quick recap: she's a child of Loki and Angaboda, in the comics.
In the comics, yes.
Yeah. Another character rich in Marvel lore. And she was even brainwashed, by the way. I didn't mention this before, but she was brainwashed by Nazis in World War II. The face Jeff
Jesus.
made. So imagine Bucky and Cap like facing off versus the Nazis and Hela. Kind of crazy.
I mean, even in the MCU, what a bloodline.
Yeah.
Friggin'
Yeah.
Hela.
Yeah.
Thor.
Yep.
Loki. Jesus, the destructive children.
Exactly. And then, of course, portrayed by Kate Blanchett.
Killed it.
Firstborn, Odin daughter, sister of Thor and Loki, as I wrote.
What were you the god of again?
What were you the god of again? Because she's so good.
I'm the goddess of death.
The goddess of death.
Kills it.
Oh, she's so good. And I don't know one person that was not attracted to that woman in that movie. Like when the news broke that she was even joining, I was like, who's she gonna play?
Oh yeah.
And then they're like Hela. I was like,
ooh,
Hela. And then they showed all the pictures started leaking.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang. And then the movie dropped, and I was like, dang.
Yeah.
Because my God, she
kills it, man.
She's a fabulous actress.
She's great.
I love her. I'm in love with her too. I have wives too, you know. It's not just you.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Who's your avatar this week?
I mean,
is it still Yelena? You changed it back to Yelena.
It's Yelena now. It went back to Yelena.
Such a poser.
I'm gonna have to change it when Multiverse of Madness comes out.
Back to Wanda.
Back to Wanda, and then that's when I'm going to change my name.
Question.
Which I'm not going to reveal until I change it.
Nah,
Di gave me a great name for my Twitter. Yes. And if you follow me on Twitter at all, you've known that I've changed my Twitter name, I think for the last 7-8 months, ever since WandaVision came out.
It's so good. I love it.
And then I've changed it probably twice in the last 2 months.
I know, that was funny because every time you like something, I'm like, who is that?
One of my friends that I played basketball with, he was like, you know, I was like, who is like, why is the girl from Hawkeye liking my stuff? And I was like, oh shoot, it's Jeff.
Because the name doesn't help Kate. What is it, Caitlina? What did we decide?
Catalina Yelova Maximoff.
There we go.
Is my current name.
So good.
And then Di gave me a Twitter name that resembles Wanda.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, that's good.
We're gonna save it.
And I haven't seen it yet on Twitter, on comic Twitter that at least that I've seen in passing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm using that, and I'm not gonna change it until Multiverse of Madness comes out.
Heck yeah!
And new stills come out, so I can make Wanda my picture again.
Wanda.
Oh
God. Okie dokie. So, believe it or not, Thor has had many a relationship.
What a slut.
A slut. What a slut.
What are you the god of again? The goddess of sluts.
What's happening? Oh God, he's the god of thunder from down under.
That's just Tony Stark.
Okay, so these are gonna. This is another Tony Stark scenario where I'm just gonna pull the top 5 or 6 in this case.
Just lay it all out.
Just lay it all out and see what happens and how they're concurrent or synonymous to the ones in the movies. So I'm going to start with one that's as recent as 2018. I'm not going to dive into it whatsoever. I'm only going to mention her because she's a pretty relevant and upcoming name. Uh-huh. But Thor and She-Hulk had a thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Banner is not going to be happy.
Can you imagine if that happens? So Jennifer Walters, who is She-Hulk, of course, and as Geoffrey just said, Hulk's cousin, who is going to be portrayed by Tatiana Maslany in the upcoming She-Hulk series on Disney Plus. So that's going to be awesome. Whether or not she crosses paths with Thor, I mean, who knows? But because of Hulk,
wonder if any of the film heroes are gonna make appearances in the story.
I know, that'd be awesome.
In these shows.
And then following in the comic books came Shauna Lind. This is another, I mentioned it before that a lot of Donald Blake, Thor as Donald Blake, his scenario is just like a lot of mind wiping was going on. And it's a very MIB situation where if they didn't like something, they would just erase it.
Jesus.
And so unfortunately, Shauna was one of those people who kind of was a casualty of that. And so she got close to Donald. They were dating. I think they were about to be married. And they were just like, well, this can't happen. So she lost her memory. And she no longer remembered who he was.
Pain.
Pain. And then, of course, another familiar name, the Enchantress, Amora. Who I think
Cara Delevingne?
Not that one. Which again, that's another one. See, it's another parallel where DC has a version of a character that has some roots in older folklore, and Enchantress is one of them. But of course, this is the character that everybody was up in arms about when Loki dropped the series, because they thought Sylvie was Amora. So the thing to remember is that Sylvie is also Enchantress, but she's the second Enchantress. So like if they designated a number, she's Enchantress too.
Got it.
Whereas Amora is
Numero
one.
uno.
And so Thor has had a tumultuous relationship with Enchantress, with Amora rather. And more or less she's got spells and tricks. And, they had real love at one point. They even had a daughter together.
Nice.
But, she's evil, so
yeah,
that didn't work out. And then, of course, as I mentioned previously, Valkyrie. So in the comics, I would love to talk about her as an independent character. Maybe when Love and Thunder comes out.
Yes, because I think she's gonna have a very significant arc.
I think so too. Yeah. And so of course in the books she's known as Brunhild. And she as well, they had a relationship and she lost her memory. I think they both lost their memory at the same time. And then they were cast back onto Earth, and there's a whole thing about finding each other again. Who of course is portrayed by Tessa Thompson in the MCU.
Lovely. King
of Asgard.
Love her.
Looking for her queen, aka as she said at Comic-Con. So that'd be interesting. And of course, this is a nice spin because there is by no proximity a romantic relationship between those two in the MCU.
True.
None.
Did you see some of those deleted scenes or bloopers though from Endgame? Where I think they did a take of like when they were saying goodbye.
Oh really? Yeah, no,
I didn't. There was like they just for one take, I think they were just like, just Thor, like go and like attempt to kiss her. Yeah, it was like the worst thing in the world. It was just so awkward. Oh my god! like Tessa and Chris were just like they're like
no. Yeah, and I love her Valkyrie, and of course they kind of touch on her a bit in Ragnarok by saying that she's part of the Valkyrie fleet of female warriors, and she's just one of many.
Which I think is a great backstory in general, because the Valkyries seem like they're like legit.
And Pegasus is I love it,
dude. Yeah,
I love it. And of course you kind of see I believe that it was clarified that the woman that saved Valkyrie's life in the flashback, she's not only an homage to the original Brunhild in the comic books, the way she looks, but I believe that was her girlfriend or her lover or her partner.
Is that a theory or is that like a confirmed thing?
I'm pretty sure it's confirmed.
Okay,
feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I believe that's why she also saved her. I mean, other than being in a sisterhood, but on the added. On top of that
I love that lore of the Valkyries.
Yeah. That entire that whole treatment of those scenes.
I loved it. That was pretty cool to see on screen. It was like Hela taking on the whole Valkyrie.
It was like a moving portrait from like you would see in a museum.
Yeah, that's like
it's incredible.
Sistine Chapel stuff right there.
Yeah, exactly. Which brings us to Lady Sif. So again, as another character we can absolutely do on her own, or maybe we do like, the ladies of Asgard or something.
Yeah.
But she's like, it's very similar to the movies. She's always kind of been there. They grew up together. It was kind of like childhood crush, love, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And she's always kind of been sidelined for his other ladies. Period.
Yeah, and they depict that too in the movies.
Yeah, which is messed up.
Poor.
I know.
Poor girly.
And they had this weird instance in the comic books actually, where she took on a human persona as well when she came to Earth, and her name was Sybil, and she was Donald Blake's cousin.
Nice. Sure. I guess that works.
Yeah, a little awkward. And this was kind of like around the time that he was dating Shauna Lind. So yeah, he was weird stuff. Had to be the 60s or 70s, that's for sure.
100%.
And I wrote, my note was that has been in his heart for thousands of years and sidelined just as long. So sadly, that is really her journey. But she's also, of course, a woman on her own, and she's awesome. Portrayed by Jamie Alexander in the MCU, and with cameos in Loki, which was nice to see her pop up, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., actually. She was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I think it was like one of the...
Yeah. She came in a lot, and she did the Son of Cole joke that they had in there. Son of Cole.
Right.
Son of Cole. And then, of course, last but not least, Jane Foster.
Oh, yeah.
Portrayed by Natalie Portman, who is an astrophysicist with a PhD, girl.
True.
I love her. I love Jane, and I love Natalie. So
yeah, I remember when that whole thing like went down, like, and she wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that's unfortunate, because I really actually like dig like her portrayal of Jane Foster, and like she was a really cool love interest for Thor in the movies. Mm-hmm. So I was like, dang, but I get why she wanted to leave after the second one, because it was it
wasn't well received, and
she felt like she was like put on the back kind of thing, right? Yeah, she really wanted Patty Jenkins as a director.
Was it really?
Was it Patty Jenkins? I don't know. I know it was a female director. She really wanted, and then she didn't get it. I think I'm gonna have to fact check myself on that.
Yeah,
but
interesting, huh?
But yeah. But then I'm glad that Taika is bringing her back.
Yeah,
and not only just bringing her back, but
upgrade.
She is going to possess the power of Thor in some way.
Heckin' yeah,
Lady Thor, just Thor.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm excited to see it, because I feel like this version of Thor, Love and Thunder, is just going to be freaking crazy.
But it's like, I mean, and I haven't seen a peek from her in ages.
Yeah.
Ages, right?
Yeah.
But the one or two pictures I saw leaked from the set, like at least 4 months ago.
Yeah.
She is jacked. She is Natalie Portman jacked, which is, we've never seen Natalie Portman jacked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So this is gonna, like, this is...
I am so curious
I wonder where this movie is gonna take place. Like on Earth, in one of the realms?
Yeah, exactly. And so in the books, she is actually currently Valkyrie. And, she was originally, before this, she was Thor. She was previously Thor, proved worthy, and she took up the mantle. And the inscription, so much that the inscription on Mew Mew actually changed to whoever shall, possess the power of Thor. May she be worthy. It changed. It literally changes.
Nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. And that's actually one of my favorite runs of Thor. It's probably the one that I know more about than Odinson, to be honest. I know more about Foster. And, and so I wonder how much of that's going to be adapted to Love and Thunder, if at all. Because, they could change it completely for all we know. But, yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with her. Because, I love the character.
Yeah, so. I wonder where Thor's arc.
Yeah. And
then now that Jane is coming back, I wonder how their arc kind of grows together.
And it is interesting, because is this a possible multiverse scenario?
I want to say no.
Yeah, because then that means that he becomes himself again, so to speak, Thor, but he doesn't necessarily have Mew Mew. But there's going to be 2 Thors?
Yeah.
See? Multiverse just ruined everything.
I was gonna say, I was like, I don't want this concept of multiverse now. And fans and people are just gonna be like, they're like, well, what if it's another variant?
Yeah, exactly,
like, bro. Like,
so of course, to speak of Love and Thunder, arriving July 2022, directed by Taika Waititi, written by Taika Waititi and Jennifer Caitlin Robinson.
Nice.
Caitlin Robinson. And I wanted to give an honorable mention to Dear Gamora for a love interest in the MCU because his skin is like Katati metal.
Stop touching his muscles.
Stop touching his muscles. Which brings another listener question from Andrew Frank, 17. Geoffrey, who is really in charge, Star-Lord or Thor?
I think I've had this internal battle.
You better say the right answer.
Drax.
Mantis.
They should fight to the death with knives.
What is he? Yeah, he's like, was it Rocket? You should get. Oh, I can get the knives. What does he say? I don't.
He's like, you guys should. Drax says you guys should fight for the honor.
Oh, the honor.
And then I don't know if Rocket or
I think it was Rocket.
Rocket says like would not, and then something would not, and then Mantis is like
the knives. My Guardians. I miss my Guardians.
Oh man.
Alrighty.
Look. It is his ship.
Okay. Okay.
And they are finding, they're on a mission to find Gamora. So I want to say Thor. I'm just kidding.
Oh, bait and switch. Rocket, what do you think? You're wrong.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I'm pretty sure Rocket's in charge.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. No, I mean, yeah, it's a ship.
Yeah, that's Rocket's ship.
It's my ship.
It's
my ship, Quill.
Quill. Oh, Quill. All right, so.
Did that answer the question? That answered the question, right?
I think so, yeah. Should we move to aesthetic?
Boom.
I mean, again, pretty consistent, right?
Yeah,
he's got the
that card that we started at the top of the show,
right?
Oh no, the comic, the first appearance.
Yeah,
he has the suit with like the 6 things, 6 circles on the plate, on the armor plate.
Yep.
So the cape.
4 in the comic books it appears. Maybe Hemsworth just has a very long torso.
True. I like.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent.
I like the homage to the comic book helmet in Ragnarok when he's in the fight.
Oh yeah. Because after Thor, you just never see it again. They wore it for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And then
because it's kind of like for him, it's like kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
On screen, whereas you have Cap's thing.
What did they say?
Cowl, but
didn't they say something? I can't. Oh gosh, it was so long ago. I can't even remember. But I think that there was even a notation that they purposefully didn't equip them with the helmets at all times because they just thought it was silly. They just thought it looked silly. Not Loki's necessarily, but for Thor to have it at all times is kind of like
it has like the wings and it covers like the nose and the head. Yeah, whereas you have Cap's cowl, it's like it makes sense and it works in the time of the movie.
Right. Exactly.
But whereas Thor, I don't think really needs it.
Yeah. It was an interesting look. At first, I was kind of like, why did they take it off? Why did they take it off? But then, I mean, like now, I'm like, no, actually, it works. Yeah. And the one in Ragnarok is really nice too. And it's got that, the way that it slides down. Yeah. And it is an homage, which is great. And of course, the red cape. And that's kind of changed here and there.
The other aesthetic I like is... because I don't know if this is the first time in Endgame since since the first Thor movie where when he put Mjolnir in the sky and the thunder, and he was getting dressed, whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
The
with all
sleeves.
He
got
like here,
sleeves
in the first movie and Dark World. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it comes together. It's like click, click, clack, clack, clack.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think that was like a thing after Dark World.
No,
up until Fat Thor.
Yeah.
And then
they were like, show the man's arms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay.
I get it.
Well, that's also, that is in their defense. That would be consistent with the comic book.
Yeah,
Thor.
it's pretty, I think
exposed,
it's pretty,
yeah.
It's pretty accurate.
And I feel like, other than the color contrast being dulled down a bit, pretty darn accurate and a pretty great modernization of the costumes.
That makes sense on screen for the times. Yeah.
Exactly.
Without being too
Without
cartoony.
being cheesy.
Yeah.
Like the one that we've seen in the 70s rendition where he was pretty much a carbon copy of what we see on these trading cards and in the comic book,
Yeah.
It's almost silly, but he looks, Hemsworth is
kills the
what
role.
Can we say?
Kills him, man.
And so that brings us to a listener question from Catherine Blades, our upgraded Patreon patron. Favorite Thor wig? Sweat drop face. And so when I read this, I was like, wait. Favorite Thor wig? And I was like, there's more than one? Because to me, I was like, oh, Thor, right? Sure.
The first one.
The first one. No. He's got more. And essentially, every time he's had the long hair, he basically has extensions in. So I was like, oh, dang. I almost thought that it was his beautiful natural mane. But apparently, like, the wig took 2 hours to apply.
Yikes.
So he was in the makeup chair for much longer than he needed to. And then eventually they were just like, oh,
let's shave his head. That's why in Ragnarok he was like, let's just shave that.
Yeah, exactly. That, or he just grew it out.
Yeah.
And then they just did the little extensions and they're like, okay, cool, problem solved.
Yeah. Hilarious.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite? Mine is Dark World. I'll say that to the end of my days.
I mean, I do like the hair, surprisingly, in the first Thor when they're in the in their coffee shop.
Oh, okay.
And then he's like,
more.
Another. Yeah. I was like,
yeah. I can hang with that.
But yeah, the shave look though.
It was the bleached brows. That even Lord Feige was like, we gotta cut
this out. We gotta cut this out. But yeah, the shaved head Thor.
Yeah.
I can get down with.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to kind of, and I started doing this with the Doctor Strange episode. So I wanted to just mention the costume designers because hot diggity dang, like they deserve a lot of credit.
Of course.
So in order, it was Alexander Byrne who we mentioned in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
She did the costumes in Thor and in Avengers and Thor Dark World. She, along with Wendy Partridge, are to thank for the au naturel Thor Hemsworth with no more dye. Because the bleached features was a little too much. No, not the best at all. And then in Thor Ragnarok, Maya C. Rubio brought us the short hair, don't care, one-eyed pirate angel.
True.
And then in Endgame and Infinity War, I keep switching them for some reason. In Infinity War Endgame, Judiana Makovsky, and I wrote in my notes, Mjor to love.
Nice.
This is what happens when I do this after my freelance and job.
Just puns.
Yeah, just puns for days. And of course, I wanted to mention very quickly, like, the concept of the short hair Thor is canon when it comes to the comics.
Oh.
It does happen. It actually happened in Unworthy Thor 2016, 2017, which was pretty close to Ragnarok.
Right before the time.
Yeah, I think they were.
And during the time of filming.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you right off the bat, like, which came first, because it is kind of a chicken and egg situation. Like, not sure if MCU was like, hey, so this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Or if, the artist my favorite, Olivier Coipel was like, so this is what I'm doing. And then showed them, and then, hey ho,
I feel like part of it also was Chris and Taika.
Yeah, right.
Chris is like, I don't want to. I don't want to. He's like, I don't want to wear this stuff anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Please.
Right, exactly. And so to kind of talk very, very, very briefly about that run, it's called The Unworthy Thor. And so it's essentially about Thor being unfit to lift the hammer and his desperate quest to regain his worthiness. And so that's, I feel, is kind of pretty similar to Ragnarok, at least in the beginning when he loses his father, and then the whole thing with Loki and then Hela and shattering Mew Mew. And then in that storyline, it is kind of nutso cuckoo because, believe it or not, Malekith. So I think I mentioned this before that Thor, he's a Bucky Barnes. One of his arms is prosthetic.
Yes.
In the comics. And so in the Unworthy Thor book, Malekith chopped off his arm.
Oh my gosh.
With the mystical axe Jarnbjorn. After he lost Mjolnir, burned the arm, and then now Thor has the prosthetic arm made of black Uru metal.
Wow.
So it's made of the same property.
Oh my gosh.
As Mew Mew and Stormbreaker.
Whoa.
So imagine that.
Is that
Thor.
stronger than
It's
vibranium? It is, right? Because it's
indestructible.
otherworldly metal, yes.
Yeah. And so he can conjure storms. He can do the thunder.
Oh,
he can
that's
do all that
sick.
stuff. Yeah. So
What
I was
if
like,
that happens?
dude, can you imagine? But then they'd be like, oh, he's like Bucky.
Yeah.
That's the problem. But it would be kind of cool.
That would be cool.
But they already took his eye. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. but yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And again, it's like one of those instances when Malekith is, once again, you got to see the panel. The page is nuts. So you got to see the page because Malekith has, I believe, frost giants holding Thor by the arms.
Uh-huh.
So big dudes holding him by the arms with his arms spread out. Mm-hmm. He has Jarnbjorn, and he just goes, ah!
Like some Ulysses Claw stuff?
Yeah. And Ulysses is another one. And the limb just goes, just rolls away. And it's like, and he just like, it's such a mobster, like gangster move. I'm just like, dude, yeah, Malekith is evil.
Jeez.
And then, and so that brings us to, what little we've seen of Love and Thunder Thor, again, costume designed by Maya C. Rubio. He's jacked as fuck. So,
like I said, I don't know how he can get any bigger, but he did.
What costume did we see him and Chris Pratt in? Were they in 80s gear? I can't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah, right?
Because Pratt had like the long Star-Lord jacket.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's going on here?
I can't remember what Thor was wearing other than that he had the sleeveless t-shirt.
I mean, that's all we care about, right?
Oh boy. And so we to cap that off, we have a listener comment from Mermaid Mellow who says, "What is it about Thor's hair? Long or short, braids or not, why is it almost always perfect?"
Because he is a demigod.
Because he is Thor.
It's the rules. I don't make the rules.
Because he's the second best Chris.
So
yeah, I don't know. All of the above.
Yeah.
Every reason we just said. He's gorgeous. And I don't know. I like the mane. Like, again, Dark World Thor.
Yeah.
But he's a good looking man. So, hey.
I respect it.
Amen. So, as we mentioned, there's Thor, or Lady Thor, as some people regard her as, Jane Foster, who I'd like to save for Love and Thunder. And then, there's, this is just, to kind of bring it all together, the other Thors and other media. There are others who have taken on the mantle of Thor, of course, including Beta Ray Bill, Roger Novell, aka the Ginger Thor. So there's a Ginger Thor. He's redheaded version. Who's very Viking looking.
Okay, yeah.
And then Tareen, who is Thor Girl, literally named Thor Girl.
Okay.
Dargo, aka Thor of the 26th century. Eric Masterson, who we mentioned at the top of the show, aka Thunderstrike. And his outfits are pretty interesting because he kind of looks like what I imagine, like a motorcycle bike king version of Thor, where he's kind of got like a sleeveless jean vest looking thing, and he has his hair pulled back in a ponytail, and he's got a beard. Yeah. He looks like he rolled out of what is that? Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I dig that.
Yeah. And then Storm of X-Men, of course. That's a logical thought for Thor, right? Once Thor. And then, of course, I mentioned a little earlier Throg, which is the frog version. Which, by the way...
That's hilarious.
By the way, speaking of Simon Walterson, so... Simon Walterson, Beta Ray Bill in the 616.
Uh-huh.
In Earth 97161, Simon Walterson is Throg.
Jeez.
So get this very quickly. Simon Walterson was a star college football player in Mississippi. He attempted to contact his dead wife and child. It's always a dead wife and child.
God, these guys never learn, man.
Through a fortune teller. He couldn't pay up. So the woman turned him into a frog.
It's like the opposite of the Princess and the Frog.
Yes. It's like the prince. Oh, yeah. No, you're right. I was like, yeah, you're right. Actually,
I'm glad that was a little Easter egg in Loki. That was hilarious.
No, it's great. And of course, like you just said, seen in Loki, voiced by Chris Hemsworth. So that's pretty awesome.
That's hilarious.
And then, of course, the What If version, which is a frat boy bro Thor. Again, he's another bro Thor. He's more like he's a frat boy.
Nice.
He's a frat boy. Yeah, and he's pretty funny in there too. I love that iteration of him as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, that's a testament of how great Chris Hemsworth's performance is.
Yeah, even voice acting, yeah.
And last but not least, our last listener comment. I pulled this from the woodwork because it was quite a while ago. But Robin Run Girl on Twitter, who is also one of our We Are Groots, had tweeted us very, very many moons ago when we asked about tofu fondue. When we asked about fondue and what have you, she said, "My preferred fondue menu." So this one's for all those admirers of the Marvel men. Number 6 on her fondue menu is Loki, followed by young Howard Stark, Tony Stark,
okay,
Bucky Barnes,
okay,
Captain America, Steve Rogers, and top of her fondue list, Thor. So,
all right,
yeah. And then, how about some almost was? I got some good ones for you. Do you have any idea who the first choice was?
First choice?
First choice.
Let's see. It's 2011.
Yep.
Need a big, strong dude. Mm-hmm. Dang, who was like at the time? Like, because I remember, yeah.
Right? You got to bring it back.
I know Tom Hiddleston auditioned for Thor.
Yes. And if you haven't seen it, please look for it. It's incredible.
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh. What a multiverse. Can you imagine if he had a cameo as Thor in Doctor Strange as Thor?
And Chris Hemsworth was Loki?
Yes. Or they bring back Matt Damon and their brother.
Yeah, and that's the other.
And that's the other. Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
The possibilities are endless.
No, actually, I don't remember who was the first choice.
First choice. Well, okay, before I get to that.
Uh-huh.
No, actually, let me just say it. Believe it or not, first choice for Thor was none other than Daniel Craig. James Bond.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Really interesting. So apparently he was in it to win it, but then his commitment to the Bond films got in the way. So he couldn't do it.
I think that was a
interesting
solid move on his part.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Holy Toledo. You kidding me? We were talking about this like ages ago too.
Yeah.
And how good like his run of 007 films has been. So among those, in addition to Daniel Craig, among those who tested and were considered for the role, here we go, included Charlie Hunman. Speaking of Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
But by the way, it's a pretty obvious choice when I say it. I kind of wanted him for Ghost Rider.
That would be cool too.
Because he really reminds me of Johnny Blaze and a little bit of Danny Ketch, actually.
Yeah.
But now the word on the street is that Norman Reedus is very interested, and I'm kind of like, well, I'm very interested in Norman Reedus.
Yeah,
so
I saw that.
That's pretty good. But Charlie Hunman, Alexander Skarsgård, which is another no-brainer, and he's going to be in the upcoming film The Northman, I believe, right? Northman.
Where he's playing, I remember seeing something like that.
He's playing a freaking Nordic dude. It's very niche for him. Channing Tatum, who I feel was just thrown into the bucket over and over again.
Time, you got to throw him in.
Yeah. Joel Kinnaman.
Joel Kinnaman.
Yeah. From Suicide Squad.
Yes.
Interesting. I don't know about that. I mean, he's got the.
I see. Yeah,
he's tall.
I see it a little bit.
I don't know.
He's definitely better as Rick Flag.
Yeah. Oh, Rick. Oh, he was so good. I was kind of upset that, spoiler alert, Rick dies. Kevin McKidd. I'm not familiar with. Not familiar. Sorry. And then this name was actually tossed around quite a bit. WWE star Triple H.
Okay, yeah.
That was kind of a shoo-in. He looks more like Eric Masterson. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Eric
okay.
Masterson.
Yeah.
This was a big one for me. Big shocker. Brad Pitt.
No.
Brad Pitt.
No. I feel like they just threw him in there just to throw him in there.
Oh, yeah. Just to say that they had Brad Pitt in it.
That's a no.
Yeah. And then last but not least, Tom Hiddleston.
Hilarious.
Crazy. So that's it.
Oh, wow. You want to take a guess at how long we've been talking about the mans?
2 hours and 15 minutes.
2.5 hours.
Oh my gosh, guys, we can't do anything less than this now. This is our new standard. Oh my gosh.
So if you keep tuning into us,
yeah, wow.
God help you.
God help you all. Woo! So, before all that, suggested reading. I'm not super duper familiar with all the Thor stuff. Read the old stuff, but right off the bat, I can suggest any run by Jason Aaron with Russell Dodderman, Olivier Coipel, or Isad Rubik on it. Do it.
Nice.
Those are my Fab Four for Thor, and yeah, that's the end of the show. As the cats go,
guys, I'm gonna keep this in, but oh my gosh, Di got a new kitty, and he is exploring the hell out of the world.
That's like his Rainbow Bridge.
It's like when Cap woke up in the 2000s. He was like, "Where am I really?" Kitten's like discovering things.
He's like toys.
I
call it his chaos mode. He's in chaos mode where everything is just everything.
I see why this expression goes as curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah, right. Because he's just
because a cat could like look a blade straight in the eye and be like, "Oh my God, what's this?"
Look at him. Look at him go. Aw, Bucky.
I'm keeping all of that in.
His name is Wolfgang Buchanan. Wolfie Bucky for short. Bucky Barnes. Because he's got a metal arm. If you see a picture of him, he's got a metal arm.
It's great.
On a cutie pie. Oh, Lordy, he's loud.
Oh, man. But who are we covering next?
Next is kind of an open book, actually. I had Hulk written down,
true.
With a question mark. Because he's kind of a heavy hitter, so I wasn't sure.
Maybe the listeners can suggest.
Maybe we can do that if you'd like.
Whoever they would like to hear.
Yeah.
I guess.
Let's hear it.
You think, because obviously they know we're kind of waiting on certain movies and shows for characters. like we're saving obviously
Morbius, She-Hulk, Moon Knight.
A lot of the things. I mean, Moon Knight is the next thing coming up in March, end of March. So I think I made a suggestion to die via text like a couple of days ago or a week ago.
Yeah.
I was like, I think we should cover Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
say the line, Geoffrey.
What?
The sabbatical one.
Norman's on sabbatical, honey.
Honey. Oh yeah, no, I'd love to cover Osborn.
Peter.
Strong.
Strong enough to have it all. Too weak to take it.
The king. Oh, the king.
So
he's so good. Yeah,
I think
we
he
can do
is
that.
worthy of being covered.
Yeah.
Especially through the different iterations that the Gobby has gone through.
Exactly.
So.
And how many goblins there are.
Exactly.
Whew.
And obviously we know who the best portrayal is.
Yeah. Oh,
was.
Yeah. Hands down.
And I told Di, I was just like, No Way Home just cemented like how great
Oh yeah. Willem
Dafoe is.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know he can get more menacing after
He's
2002.
so great. Yeah.
I was scared of him then. And he's even scarier now.
He's even scarier now. And
Props to Willem Dafoe. I think he's definitely, or the Goblin as a character is definitely worthy of being covered.
Is he worthy for Mew Mew? All right. So thanks for listening. Yes. The power of Mew Mew.
Too awake to take it.
Thanks for listening. Tune into our next episode. Send us some suggestions of who you'd like to hear while we fill in some episodes before our cemented characters. We are Groot. Salute to Katie, Claire, Robin, Ashley, Joe, Liz, Laura, Ariel, Ed, the Arachnerd, Melanie, Andrew, Nats, and Jenny.
Salut, mi familia.
Follow us on social at STRKCNTRST. And if you like what you hear, review, rate, and subscribe.
And we will see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Dear Tony Stark, how's it going? I heard you and Captain America were having some relationship problems. Dear Steve Rogers, do you remember when I goaded you into killing those prisoners and you made me swear to never tell the other Avengers? If there's any other secrets you need kept, just let me know, because I'm not up to much at the moment. What are you doing later?
I'm just working.
What's he doing?
He's working.